Pitch it up, my selector.
Due to some violent content, parental discretion is advised.
I know you gonna dig this.
All right, welcome back to another edition of Sucker Punch. It's been a long time coming. Maestro's been on hiatus. I put out an APB for him. We found him. We got him back in the building. We're finally back. At a time of year when everyone's doing their year-end videos, their fight of the year, fighter of the year, right? They're doing their year-end awards. Maestro and myself are going to take a look into the future for 2024. And so far on the radar, the biggest fight that we have out there scheduled is Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. We're about, 6.5, 7 weeks away. So that's right around the corner. And people really aren't talking about it yet because it's not close, but we're going to talk about it, Maestro and myself. We're going to do a little bit of a early preview. We're going to break it down. And as most people know, Maestro and myself, we believe Tyson Fury is the best heavyweight in the world. And we're going to be accused of being biased here. But even though we may be somewhat biased, we're still going to give an objective point of view, going to give it an objective analysis, right? And we're going to be fair here. So I'm going to get it started. We're going to talk about, obviously, Tyson Fury's last performance against Francis Ngannou, which was, it was an embarrassing performance. In my opinion, it was a fight that truly could have gone either way. Tyson Fury was fortunate enough to get the victory, but more people do think that he did win than thought he lost. I'm in the minority, about 70% of the people. If you go on BoxRec, where they have the average fan scorecard, most people do think he won the fight. But regardless of whether you thought he won or lost, he did not look good. He looked poor. And it's not about making excuses. It's about having an explanation for what we saw. Maestro and I, we like to gamble every now and then. We like to think of ourselves as analysts. So we like to break down not just the X's and O's, but, a lot of the intangibles, the weight the guy's coming in at, maybe his preparation. And everyone should train hard for a fight. We know that, right? There's no excuse for not training hard for a fight. There was no excuse for coming into that fight at a very soft 277 pounds. But it is what it is, right? We have to deal with the what is, not with the woulda, coulda, shouldas. But one thing I believe, and I do agree with Frank Warren on, is if you do look at Francis Ngannou, even if you go back to the MMA fights, and it's hard to kind of compare the MMA fights to what you perceive him to have done or what he would have done in a boxing match. I understand that. But if you were to look at those UFC fights, and again, it's a different sport, I understand that. But even when throwing the punches, he was very wide with the shots. He would leap in with those left hooks. So going into that fight, I think Tyson Fury and a lot of us expected that this was a guy who was just going to rush in, be off balance, and throw haymakers all night. And that couldn't have been further from the truth. So when you're going in there with the mentality and not expecting a guy to do something that he did a complete 180. Like we have to all agree that Francis Ngannou looked a lot better than we thought he would look in terms of his technique, his footwork, his poise. He was relaxed in there, right? And he put on a great performance. Tyson Fury did not look great. Usyk's a whole different ball game, right? We've seen Usyk over the years, and this is not a knock on Usyk. It's not like when you say this about a fighter, it doesn't mean that he's not a great fighter or not a excellent fighter. We're not saying that. But Usyk is who he is. He's pretty much an in and out ambush style fighter who's most effective in the mid-range. Now, that's not to minimize him, but at least when you fight that guy, right, you know what you're getting. No one expected this type of Francis Ngannou in there, least of all Tyson Fury. So if you're going to look at this fight and say this is the Tyson Fury that's going to show up against Alexander Usyk with that same mentality, again, a lot of times a fighter has to have that fear of, I could lose this fight. And I don't think Tyson Fury had it for Francis Ngannou. I think he knows that if he's not on his A game for Usyk, that's a fight that can easily slip away from him. I'm going to let you jump in because I've been a little bit long-winded so far, but go ahead, Maestro.
Well, that's fine, Joe. I agree with everything you said. Fury obviously was very confident going into the fight. A lot of it was hyperbole, but he made statements along the lines of, "I could go to the bar, the pub, and drink 10 or 20 pints and still beat Francis Ngannou." So I mean, he clearly wasn't taking his opponent seriously. You saw that not just in his words, but in the physical shape that he turned up in. You could see it. He didn't look solid. He was heavy, but it wasn't a solid heavy. You oftentimes use the term functional. It wasn't a functional 270 or whatever it was. It was a slobby 270 plus. And look, we got to give Ngannou credit. He showed up in shape, first and foremost. He took the fight seriously, obviously, and he clearly did tighten up his punching technique and was able to drop a Tyson Fury. Now, I do not believe that we're going to see anything like that Tyson Fury going into the fight on February the 17th. Tyson Fury is a fighter who gets a lot of hate. Especially when it comes to the YouTube boxing scene, which we're both a part of. If I was him walking out to this fight, I'd probably walk out to Biggie Smalls rapping over "They pray for my downfall," because that's what a lot of people seem to be hoping happens. But when I break down this fight, Joe, I honestly do not see a path to victory for Usyk. Now, I've been wrong before, but on this one, I truly believe what I'm about to say. Fury dominates from the outside. Fury dominates from the inside. I don't think that Alexander Usyk can hang with Fury on the inside. And on the outside, if Fury decides to use jab and movement, and Fury can move laterally, he can move at angles, he can obviously move in a linear fashion front to back. He can win the fight just on the outside with his jab and by clinching on the inside, but he doesn't even need to clinch on the inside. He's actually a very good inside fighter. Now, there are disagreements on whether it actually is inside fighting or not. We've talked about this before, Joe. I'm adamant that it is inside fighting. One of my favorite, not my favorite fighter of all time, Lennox Lewis, used to always work with the free hand on the inside. Used to always tie his guy up and walk him backwards while punching. Clinch fighting.
It's clinch fighting, yeah. It's a form of inside fighting. Whether you like it or not, whether you want to call it dirty boxing or not, he had to pull that rabbit out of the hat against Steve Cunningham, and that's how he won the fight. Clinch fighting.
Same with the Otto Verlin fight when he had the cut. He had to do the same thing there.
And the the reason why, I'm sorry to interrupt you. The reason why
Go
it
ahead.
wasn't effective against Francis Ngannou is because this is a guy who's who's closer in size to him than Usyk is, and this is a guy who's used to being laid on. This is a guy who's used to having to clinch fight, right?
Yeah.
Usyk is not a physical guy. When you got a tall guy and you got a short guy, the guy when the guy's coming in, like Fury can actually reach out. So Usyk will be in his stance. Fury can actually reach out and grab him and lean on top of him, and then nudge him with his forearm and punch him with the free hand. When you got that weight on top of you, sort of like when Vladimir Klitschko had that weight on top of David Haye, that is going to wear you out. Now, that stuff's not going to work against Ngannou. It can be much more effective against Usyk. And Usyk is a mid-range guy. But in order for him to be in his mid-range, he's probably going to have to go closer to being inside because he's going to be at a 7 to 8 inch reach disadvantage.
Well, that's the other thing I wanted to mention about Ngannou that troubled Fury. Ngannou has freakishly long arms.
Almost identical reach to
Yes,
Fury.
this isn't the case with Usyk. So Ngannou, Fury was facing an opponent who clearly is a freak elite athlete, who clearly hits hard, who clearly was motivated and properly trained for this fight and had tightened up his punch technique. Clearly, he has a good chin as well. We've seen that throughout the history of his fighting career. But also, he had freakishly long arms and was able to kind of jab and joust with Fury, an underprepared Fury, an out of shape Fury. And look, he said that he had, what was it, a 12-week camp? All right. Well, going to the gym and clowning around with Joseph Parker for 12 weeks, that's not exactly a 12-week fight camp. Because I don't know about what you saw. That's what I was seeing a lot of in the videos that I was seeing. I mean, they were there riding the exercise bike with each other, telling each other jokes. I wasn't impressed by the footage I was seeing from that camp. Joe, go for it.
But even with that being said, take the physical preparation out of it, and let's switch back to the mental preparation. If you're envisioning a guy who's just gonna bum rush you and throw haymakers all night, and he doesn't do that, it's like Beterbiev. Everyone likes to dismiss Beterbiev as just, everyone, you're just gonna fall in love with the power. That's why you're picking him. That's the stupidest thing anyone could ever say, because the guy has great footwork. Again, he creeps up on you. So when you're trying to time the guy coming in, he's not going all the way in. He's doing that little stutter step creeping up on you. And before you know it, he's in range to hit you. And when someone kind of slow plays that collapsing of the pocket, right? You have to time that. It's almost like a pitcher throwing a changeup. Because you're sitting there as a counterpuncher, and you're trying to gauge how fast that guy's coming in, and you're expecting him to come all the way in, and he's just tippy-toeing his way in with subtle movement. And that's what Beterbiev does, and that was what Ngannou was doing. And Fury said after the fight, I expected him to jump in at me fast, and he didn't do that. That really threw Fury off. But to Fury's credit, I know people love to say, he's got no chin because he's been knocked down so many times. Yeah, but he gets back up.
No, he gets up. He's got good recuperative powers.
He gets back up and he fights. And what he did do, right, even on my card, he did win the later rounds because he started saying to himself, I'm not going to knock this guy out. So he started using his jab more, and he started landing it, right? After that 8th round, Ngannou started slowing down a little bit, and Fury was popping him with the jab, and he was gauging the distance a lot better. So
as he should have been doing from the beginning.
Yeah.
But I mean, you saw him rush out in the first round and literally try to take Francis Ngannou's head off. When have we ever seen Tyson Fury really fight that way? I mean, even in the rematch with Wilder, he still was methodical and technical in his forward approach. It wasn't what we saw in the Ngannou fight, but the other
Dillian White fight. Like, here's the thing too.
He's always methodical.
Yeah, here's the thing too. So he did bum rush Wilder in the second fight because he knew how weak Wilder was on the inside. He underestimated Francis Ngannou's strength on the inside and his fighting ability on the inside. Once again, you're not going to have to deal with that strength and that inside fighting against Usyk because he is not going to stay in the pocket with you. And when he does stay in the pocket with you, he's really not moving his hands. He's trying to get out of there. And while he's fighting his way out of there, he has to support your weight on top of him, right? That is going to wear him out. You can't wear out a guy like Ngannou with those tactics because he's used to bracing other people's weight. Usyk is not. And no disrespect to Joshua, as good as Joshua is, he's not a real physical guy. And when you get inside on him, he's uncomfortable. We saw it when Parker was getting inside on him. We saw even in
we saw when Takam was getting inside on him.
Yeah, he had problems with that. So styles do play a lot into this. I say styles make fights and levels determine outcomes. Both these guys are at high level. So what's going to win this fight is the styles. Fury didn't fight Dillian White and Derek Chisora the same way he fought Deontay Wilder, right? And again, this is not a knock on Usyk. Usyk is going to always be that in and out ambush fighter who's most effective on the mid-range, great at changing level. All these things are great. But when you have a guy like Chisora who smothers him, right? When you had a guy like Breedis who smothered him, he has problems. And to his credit, he still pulls out the victory, right? But those
there's another big problem, Joe. There's another big problem here. And I know it's probably at the top of your mind because it's been at the top of my mind for the last few minutes. The other big problem, let's face facts, is his body. Let's face facts. I mean, that was a clean body shot that dropped him against Daniel Dubois. And I've watched so many fights as you have since that fight where guys are landing, I would even say lower than Dubois landed. And there's not even a warning from the referee. It's on the belt line, ladies and gentlemen. That's a clean. If I can't see your belly button and you're getting hit on the belt line, that is a valid shot.
It's not even belly button. It's hip bone, the top of the hip bone, which is different. Everyone's belly button is placed on is
This is true. This is true.
So if you look at the rules, right? It used to be waistband, then it went belly button, and then people as time went on, you look at any rules, it says
waistline to waistline.
It says
top of the waistline.
Hip bone to hip bone. Right?
Yeah,
the top of the hip bone is literally in my body. It's about 2.5 inches below my belly button. Right?
Yeah.
And then Jack Reese also said, the whole glove doesn't have to be above the hip bone. If the majority of the glove, when you throw a punch, you're supposed to land with the first two knuckles. And if you go back and you look at that punch, the first two knuckles clearly lands above that belt line. Right? So everyone thinks like the whole entire fist has to be up here by like right under the guy's tits. No. And if you go back and watch Dubois versus Miller, he landed that same shot in the same area multiple times. And he got like one warning. And all the other times those body shots were clean. And the ref said, this is clean. And he hit the same spot that punch landed on Usyk. And you could say what you want. Usyk would have got up. I mean, come on. Like, if he would have got up, then, like, why would he have needed to milk it? He won every round prior. He was in control. He wasn't tired. He had 210 seconds. He stayed on the canvas for 210 seconds, and he was like this, gasping for breath. He didn't grab his nutsack. He got the wind knocked out.
Didn't he also say, I hurt to the referee? I hurt. So I got news for people picking Fury. So I got news for people picking Usyk. He's gonna be a lot of I hurt on February the 17th. It's gonna be a lot of I hurt because if I'm training Fury for this fight, we're doing a hell of a lot of heavy bag work, and we're just nailing that heavy bag with body shots from both sides and right to the middle.
And then I heard Ring IQ say this, and I'm not trying to throw shade at Ring IQ, but I'm not one of those guys that says, oh, he said this, she said, someone said that. Ring IQ said that since when has Fury been a body puncher? Well, in the second fight, he actually knocked Wilder down with a
He
body
knocked
shot.
Wilder down with a body shot.
Go
Absolutely.
look at the Chisora fight. He
Hurt, went
actually
to the body.
went to the body a lot.
Hmm.
So again, Fury is not a one-trick pony. When you say, "Oh well, Fury's not this monster," he only looked like a monster against Wilder because he collapsed the pocket on Wilder. He didn't fight like that against Dillian White, and he didn't fight like that against Chisora. Okay, so you're trying to discredit the Wilder performance, but in doing that, you're actually giving Fury a compliment. You're saying he has the ability to fight and win in different ways, right? So if you go back to the Dillian White fight, he fought an entirely different fight than he fought in the Wilder fight. You go back to the Klitschko fight, he fought an entirely different fight in the Klitschko fight than he did in the Dillian White fight and the Chisora fight. So this is a guy who's shown you the ability to win in different ways. Usyk's always been, and again, this is not to discredit him, but what he's good at, he's good at. But that ambush style is not going to work against a guy like Fury. It could work against a guy like Joshua, who's not going to be physical with you, right? Who sometimes is not consistent with the jab. When Fury's on, he's consistent with the jab. Just go back and look at the Dillian White fight.
He's mostly going to try to clinch on the inside.
And if he's clinching you on the inside, he's going to lean on you. He's going to push off with his forearm like he did against Steve Cunningham, and he's able to shorten up the shots on the inside.
Oh, I was saying Joshua would mostly try to clinch on the inside.
Well,
Fury will hold you and hit you and walk you back.
When Joshua clinches on the inside, he's looking for a break. When Fury clinches on the inside, he's looking to
go to work.
Looking to maul you, walk you back, lean on you, and position himself and turn you to line up his shots. You know? And that's just the way it is. So when you say, oh, well, he didn't fight like against Dillian White like he did against Deontay Wilder, and even Base the Kid, shout out to him. I'm not going to disrespect him, but he picked Dillian White to beat Tyson Fury. And his logic behind that was, well, I thought he was going to fight Dillian White the same way he fought Deontay Wilder. Again, you guys are telling on yourself. You're basically
elite fighters never.
You're basically admitting that the guy can win in different ways. So you don't know who's going to show up again. Do you think that this, like, I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen. I think you're going to see bits and pieces of the Tyson Fury that showed up in the second Deontay Wilder fight, but you're also going to see a little bit of the Tyson Fury that showed up in the Dillian White fight. You're going to see a little bit of that. You're going to see the full package. And once again, go back and look at the Dillian White fight, 264 pounds. Even the Derek Chisora fight, 268. Then you go back and you look at this most recent fight, almost 278 pounds, and he looked horrible physically. Now, again, it's not a beauty contest. We know that. It's not a
but his body composition was also different for those fights.
Even though he's fat, he was fatter, carrying more fat in this.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you just elaborated that.
He was more in shape for those two fights. It wasn't just coming in at a lighter weight. His body composition was better. He had more muscle definition and he had less excess fat. I mean,
well, Dan Raphael said this best, and I don't even like Dan Raphael, but he made a good point. He goes, if you thought Fury was going to win before the Ngannou fight, then you shouldn't change your pick. If you thought Usyk was going to win before the Ngannou fight, then you shouldn't change your pick, because the Usyk fight's nothing like Ngannou. It's a different fight. He knows that this guy is going to come in and out, and he's going to try to dart in and out on him. So Fury's going to do a lot more counterpunching in this fight. He may not have to take the lead as much. He may use his jab. He may try to keep this fight on the outside. And then he may say to himself, okay, I'm going to let this guy come in and walk him into one of my right hands. Because Joshua was doing some good work against Usyk in that second fight. It was a competitive fight. It was dead even after 8. It really was.
Well, I got to ask you this, Joe. Rumor is, and it's a substantive rumor, is that Tyson Fury is enlisting the services of Jai Opetaia, the lineal, Ring Magazine cruiserweight champion of the world, southpaw, roughly the same size and dimensions as Usyk. as his chief sparring partner. Who in the world can Usyk get as a sparring partner to mimic
Nobody.
uh, Tyson Fury? Because
Nobody.
in my mind, you couldn't get a better sparring partner for this fight in February than Jairo Pataya. I mean,
And,
he's the
and I'm
perfect sparring partner. In
and
fact, I would argue he's more explosive and potentially more dynamic
I
than
I
Usyk. Sorry, go ahead.
I said this 6 months ago. I said, and this is not a discredit. Usyk is a Hall of Famer. He is an elite fighter. But this is what I said about Jai Apataya. Said he has a lot of similarities to Usyk, right? Because he kind of likes to change levels like Usyk does. He likes to go in and out, right? Like Usyk does, right? He likes to go in and out like Usyk does. But the one thing that he does, as you said, he's a harder puncher, he's more explosive, but he can work in the pocket better than Usyk. He can stay in there. Yeah. So yeah,
I mean, we've seen him one punch
Usyk,
knockout guys.
to answer Tony's question, because once again, Tony's a gaslighter. This is what Tony does. He gaslights, right? He likes to take your words and try to frame them in a negative way, right? So when you say someone's one-dimensional, that's not necessarily a knock on him, because that one dimension that he does have is a very good dimension that can beat a lot of guys. It's like a pitcher in baseball, Nolan Ryan. He had 2 pitches, but those 2 pitches were good enough to beat.
Hit the link, Tony.
90% of the time. So yeah, Usyk does fight, and he's an ambush mid-range guy. And that ambush mid-range style, you still have to time the ambush, right? You still have to deal with the foot speed. You still have to deal with the level change, but he is not going to stay in the pocket and try to fight you. If you can trap him in that pocket like Breedis did, right? Because he squeaked by Breedis. I thought he squeaked by Chisora because they fought rough, rugged, rough and tumble fights on the inside with them, and he had problems with those guys. The one difference between Fury and those guys is Fury's bigger. He's quicker with his hands. I'm just saying this right now. I think this is a horrible style matchup for Alexander Usyk.
I agree.
And I know people have recency bias because they're going to look at that Ngannou fight, and that's fine. You could have
look at the Dubois fight. Look at the body shot. Where's the recency bias on that?
Yeah.
Am I supposed to erase from my memory the fact that Usyk was rolling around on the floor saying "I hurt" to the referee off a clean body shot? What are we saying now? How many D's do we give Daniel Dubois now, Tony? It's Daniel Dynamite. He's dangerous. Dubois.
What am I? So I'm going to change your name, Tony, because you're a gaslighter. I'm going to call you Tony Super Unleaded Pugilist Boy. You're super unleaded because you love to fucking gaslight. And
he's high octane. But I think his name is perfect. He's the pugilist boy. Go for it, boy.
He's a gaslighter, bro.
My boy Tony.
Good evening, gentlemen from London town.
Go ahead, Gary.
Oh, yes.
To you in your part of the world, it's the afternoon here. How are you?
Yes, sir. Very good, Tony. And I'm going to wish you an early, happy New Year, brother. Happy.
Blessing. Thank you, sir. Yeah. Thank you very much, fellow teach. So,
yes,
guys,
you see it right here.
Bless up to that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I'm not wanting to poo-poo on anything you said, but I just want to bring maybe a little bit of
nuance.
Thank you.
See, you're the teacher, but I could still drop in some knowledge on you.
You're still a very good wordsmith in my books, Joe Habib.
Thank you.
So I want to kind of say, listen, to diminish the skills of Usyk to the Dubois fight, to the 2 fights with Anthony Joshua, and to say that he's only capable of fighting mid to close range, to me is just ludicrous.
No, not even close range. He's a mid-range guy.
See,
So
close range would be 2 dimensions. You just gave him 2. Joe gave him 1.
He doesn't
Mid
fight.
range.
He's not an inside fighter. He doesn't
That-
like to stay in the pocket. That's why he's always
Wow.
darting in and out. It's just the way he fights. He's never stood in the pocket. When Chisora was trying to crowd him, he was fighting for space. When Breedis was trying to crowd him, he was fighting for space. When you crowd Fury, he wraps you up, he mauls you, he leans on you, he walks you back, and then he frees up one of his hands. He'll forearm you like he did with Steve Cunningham. Whoom on the top. He's not going like this, trying to get space.
Or to the body, or with an uppercut.
That's not a bad thing, Tony. When I used to play basketball, I'm a slow motherfucker. So what do? I gotta back off you. I can't get up on you. I can't get up in your chest. You'll go around me every time. We deal with what God gave us, Tony.
For sure.
We have to do that.
I get that, but I have to counter the argument that a guy that you have already labeled a Hall of Famer, yeah,
Who's a Hall of Famer?
They're both Hall of Famers. They're both Hall of Famers.
How can he be a Hall of Famer if he's one-dimensional?
Because his one dimension is very good. It's a very good dimension.
That dimension.
Very good dimension.
Nolan Ryan won. Listen to me.
Nate,
listen to me, please.
Give him Dan Marino. He doesn't know baseball, but he likes football. Dan Marino was a one-dimensional quarterback, Tony. He's a Hall of Famer. Dan Marino was a one-dimensional quarterback.
Nolan Ryan won Cy Youngs with one pitch, the fastball.
Oh my gosh!
But you can be one-dimensional, but that one dimension is so good that you are an elite supreme fighter. Let me get this super chat out the way. He says, CN says, do you make anything of John Fury's recent interviews claiming Tyson's camp is a circus right now? Well, I mean, that's his opinion. If he doesn't like what he's seeing, he can more than welcome. He's able to voice that if he wants to. When have you seen Usyk battle it out with somebody in the clinches, like a Julio Cesar Chavez, right? Like a Bernard Hopkins Bernard Hopkins was a clinch fighter.
Or like an Andre Ward, Terrence Crawford.
Rocky Marciano was a clinch fighter.
Terrence Crawford loves getting gritty and grimy on the inside, dirty. He loves those type of fights, Tony. You love Terrence Crawford because he can do that and fight on the mid-range and fight on the outside. That's what we're saying. He's a three-dimensional fighter.
If you're going to ask me a question, please allow me the courtesy of a little bit of time to answer before you
go for it.
Grandstand the question.
I'm gonna mute myself.
Yeah. Okay. So it's very simple. You asked me a simple question. When have we ever seen Usyk fight on the inside? Well, I think he fights on the inside in every fight I've ever seen him fight. Now, to say that he never stays there, I think that's a bit remiss. To say that he never gets there is straight out ludicrous again. Yeah, because every fighter ends up on the inside at some point. Yeah, I'm a boxer. I'm also a boxing coach. I spar numerous rounds every week. I've sparred with world champions as high as Azuma Nelson, Virgil Hill. Yeah, so I've gone from lightweights to light heavyweights. And I'll tell you for nothing, there's no way you can box another man and not find yourself either long range, mid range, or short range. You're going to find yourself at some point in time in all three of those positions. And if you are a world-class boxer, I'm not even going as far as elite. I'm just saying a world-class boxer. You must be able to operate in all three of those areas. Now, let me continue. There are fighters who specialize in one area of the three. However, they still need to be competent in the other two. And to say that Usyk, who you already have claimed to be incoming Hall of Famer, is not competent in the other two areas is ludicrous.
No, I'm not saying he's not competent. Let me if that's what was interpreted, let me explain what I'm saying. He can get to the inside, or another fighter can get to the inside on him. But once they're in the inside, he doesn't dominate on the inside. He seeks to get it back to his comfortable range. The difference with a Terrence Crawford or Andre Ward is, okay, you want an inside fight? We're going to inside fight, and I'm going to dominate you on the inside. That's what Fury does when he fights on the inside. They get to the inside, and then he dominates on the inside. You want to keep it outside? Okay, I'll dominate you on the outside too. That's what I'm saying.
Here's what you have to understand, Tony.
Mm-hmm.
Of course you're going to end up on the inside. It's what you do when you're there. Now, if you're not a great inside fighter, you know what you do? You try to freeze the action. You get a break. You look for the ref to break it. Muhammad Ali had zero inside game. Zero inside game. All he would do was grab and lean on top of you, and he would literally look to the ref like this: break, break, break. Larry Holmes, zero inside game. Very little. But they knew how to free Vladimir Klitschko, zero inside game. But they knew how to freeze the action. Usyk doesn't even like to freeze the action. He'll do it in spots, but he is constantly fighting in there for distance. He's not big or strong enough against a lot of these big guys to grab and hold and contain and freeze the action. Muhammad Ali, Larry Holmes, and Klitschko were big and strong enough in their respective eras to be able to do that. Usyk cannot do that.
Just let me interject very quickly. So by that definition which you just gave, this guy should never knock a person out or over with a hook. Because what you're saying is,
hook's a mid-range punch. Hook is a mid-range punch. A hook is a mid-range punch.
Let me land.
A hook is a mid-range punch.
Let me land. Yeah? Because if you're gonna try to talk like what is short and mid-range, I'ma school you. Yeah? A hook can be a mid-range shot, but more often than not, it's a short-range shot.
No, it's not.
Yeah, but he doesn't throw those short-range hooks like that, Tony.
Let me land.
No, it's not.
He doesn't.
Let me land. Because you are trying to explain to somebody who is schooled in teaching boxing. Yeah? I'm going sideways, hands positions. This is a mid-range hook. This is a short-range hook. This is a mid-range hook. This is a short-range hook. The distance is this.
3. That's mid-range. Inside is
show your fist, Joe. Show your fist. Right. Where is that, Joe? Is that
that's mid-range? That's middle distance.
Right.
Now stop for a second. Stop for a second.
Yeah.
Now, if I want to make that an inside punch, it becomes a variant of a hook. What we call it's a 45. So if you're gonna throw that inside, right? Yeah. You have to kind of throw it at
that's an uppercut, Joe.
Angle. No, it's not.
An uppercut, Joe.
This is an uppercut. This is an uppercut. Watch. That's an uppercut. This is a short hook, half uppercut. You have to change the trajectory of that hook. To throw the hook in normal fashion, when you're throwing a hook in normal fashion, 1, 2, 3, right? When you're on the pads, you're on the bag. 1, 2, 3, right? You go 1, 2, 3. Look where your hand is. That is a mid-range punch. Right. Now, you want to shorten it up, you have to torque it and throw it at a 45-degree angle.
No, you
Which, if you want to talk heavyweights that throw that punch extremely well, we're talking. Hold up. We're talking an Alexander Povetkin, not an Alexander Usyk. Alexander Povetkin, not Alexander Usyk.
Hold up, Maestro. I'll tell you why you have to change the trajectory.
No, you don't.
No, you do. I'll tell you why. You know why you have to change the trajectory? Right? Because if you don't change the trajectory, right? If you're on the inside, right?
Yeah.
And you got a guy close to you, watch Julio Cesar Chavez when he used to throw the hook. He would go like this. If you try to go like this and go over the top, you're lifting your elbow up, guess what happens? You are taking every bit of leverage off that punch. And you're going to end up hitting the guy on the shoulder. You're not going to be able to land it. So when you're up close, you have to change the trajectory of that hook. He
Sir, can I quickly just show you the letter of the law and actually explain something to you? Do you remember a guy called Gennady Golovkin?
Correct.
Where does the punch come from? That lands here on the temple?
That's a looping right hand he would throw. So when you're throwing that,
it's a hook. It's a hook.
That's not
a
a hook
on the top of the head.
No, it's not.
It's
a looping. No, it's not.
It's a hook, my
But
friend.
even if it was, he threw that corkscrew shot from mid range regardless.
He threw it from mid range. When
He threw that shot even from long range sometimes.
Gennady Golovkin was on the inside.
It was a mid range punch, Tony.
Go back and watch when he dropped Matthew Macklin with the body shot. You throw it like this. You have to change the trajectory. It's almost a half hook, half uppercut when you're on the inside. You have to change the trajectory. It has to come up like this. When you're on the outside and the mid range, you could throw it differently because you can raise it just a little bit. When you don't have the space, you don't have the room to throw it at the same angle. You have to change the trajectory.
Look, at the end of the day, let me jump in here. At the end of the day, when Usyk is on the inside, he looks for escape routes. He uses his shoulders. He uses his hips. He tries to get out of there. He uses his feet, and he tries to reset. He tries to reset to the mid range. That's what he does.
Look what you just did. You don't do this when you throw a hook. If I ever throw a hook like that in the gym, if I went like this and lifted my elbow, you know what we used to do in the gym? We used to put our feet up against the wall, right? This is what we used to do. This is the trainer used to do. This is exactly what he did. Hold on for 1 second. I'm going to show you this exercise we did. So my foot is up against this wall, right? And if your elbow hits the wall, right, you're throwing the hook wrong. So watch when I throw the hook. It's coming up, and I'm bringing it parallel, but it's coming up, and I'm bringing. You never go like this when you throw a hook, Tony. That's an arm punch. Watch when I throw the hook.
It's all from the hips and the legs. All from the hips and the legs.
My elbow doesn't hit this wall. Watch. And when I first started this, I'd be going like this all day, and my trainer would slap me in the face. This is how you throw the hook. I got my foot up against this wall.
Quick question, Joe.
Watch. See?
Great.
That's mid-range. That is mid-range. Look.
Great.
That's middle distance. Watch.
Yeah, great demonstration.
Now watch.
Joe.
Now watch. Now let me throw it your way. You don't do that, Tony.
That's not what I did, Joe.
You did.
Okay. Great demonstration, Joe. One simple issue here. If your hand is here, yeah,
doesn't have to be
so
there.
I'm defending.
Watch where my hand is. My hand is never here. I always kept my hand. Watch where my hand is, Tony. Watch where my hand is. Look where my hand is, Tony. Look where my hand is. Look where my hand is. It's right here.
Yeah.
This is where my hand is.
I
don't do this, Tony. That's because now when someone hits me in the face, my fist gets thrown into my face.
Joe.
This is my hand positioning.
Joe, how you hitting me with your hook?
Watch when I throw the hook, Tony.
That's hitting me on the glove, Joe.
Watch when I throw the hook, Tony. Watch when I throw the hook.
It's hitting me on the arm, Joe.
If your arm is there.
On the arm or the glove.
If your arm is there. If your arm is there. Now, if I turn.
This is the target, Joe.
No.
This is the target.
Tony,
this is where you want to hit with the hook.
Tony,
Look, let's get back to the discussion using actual evidence from fights. Let me ask Tony. I want to ask Tony a question.
Tony, watch this, Tony. If I'm throwing the jab, right this, I'm throwing the right hand. All I got to do is turn and then turn and shift.
Let me ask you this. Let's look at Usyk's last 3 fights, right?
No,
did Usyk? No. Excuse me. You're on my panel right now. I'm not on yours. With all due respect. With all due respect.
Let him go.
So the whole point of me coming on was to expand your mind and to say you need to stop looking at his last 3 fights. You need to stop looking at Usyk as a heavyweight.
I'm going back to Breeders. I'm going back to the Breeders fight.
Right?
We need to stop looking at Usyk as a heavyweight boxer. This is a heavyweight fight, Tony. What do you want me to do? Start looking up his fights against guys? Like, we're only going to learn limited evidence from his cruiserweight career because he's fighting a guy who's 6'9" and over 260 pounds. I think he's going to come in the 260s for this fight, by the way, not 270 plus. So my question to you is this. Did Usyk beat Dubois with close range or with mid-range fighting?
A combination of both, my friend.
No, he didn't.
Okay.
No, he
Okay.
didn't. No, he didn't.
Okay.
Majority mid-range, but let me finish.
Yes, the majority mid-range. That's
Right,
the
okay.
point. That's
Let me
his comfort zone. That's his comfort zone. Same with AJ. That was his comfort zone.
Tony, is Muhammad Ali a good inside fighter? Yes or no?
He's adequate.
No, he's not.
Okay. Let me finish the point, and you can carry on with, because I don't want this to take up the whole show. All I'm saying is,
yeah,
you give Usyk credit as a Hall of Famer potentially coming up in his lifetime, with as a one-dimensional fighter. Yeah, there's not another single.
Okay, let's rephrase it. Not one-dimensional, one range fighter. One range. Because he obviously has defense, he has footwork, he has head movement. One range fighter.
Manny Pacquiao is another one-dimensional fighter when you're talking about styles. He is an in-and-out ambush fighter. He's a pattern ambush fighter. But that one dimension is so great that it's enough to win fights. Manny Pacquiao's not going to stand in the pocket and trade with you either. He's constantly going in and out, in and out. He's a mid-range guy too.
But can he sit on his punches and knock you out with a hook?
Yes, but it's not a short hook on the inside. It's a mid-range hook.
You better go relook some of his fights, my brother.
He's a mid-range fighter.
I think you better go relook at some of them fights.
He's a mid-range fighter.
I think you better go relook some of them fights, bro.
Listen.
I will bring you video footage.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong.
You really want.
There's nothing wrong with saying a fighter is not a great inside fighter. Nothing wrong with that. You don't have there's no law that says you have to be a great inside fighter to win championships.
Okay, but that doesn't negate you as being capable of fighting on the inside.
Okay, now when
like
you use
Muhammad Ali.
Not like Muhammad Ali, like Lennox Lewis. Like Lennox Lewis. Like Lennox Lewis.
Wait.
I'm gonna finish with this.
Let me help you here. Let me help you here. When you say capable, adequate, let me unpack that for you. Because Andre Ward said this beautifully. He's talking about Froch. This is why I love. See, I expand my knowledge when I hear someone say something smart. I quote them and I take it. He said Carl Froch was able to be a good offensive fighter on the inside, but he could not defend well on the inside. Now, these guys have what's called prevent defense. Muhammad Ali had prevent defense, but he was not offensive on the inside. He was defensive on the inside. The difference between being offense and defense, being able to do both, you're more of a threat. Fury is both defensively and offensively capable on the inside. Usyk is not really strong offensively on the inside. I'm sure he's capable on the inside in terms of defending himself, right? And in certain spots, but it's going to be harder defending himself against a bigger guy. What are you showing me?
So for copyright purposes, I can't press the play button.
Yeah.
But go look at Tony Bellew against Usyk, which isn't too long ago.
I saw it. Yeah.
Isn't too long ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How tall is Tony Bellew?
Is Tony Bellew
was the punch that knocked out Tony Bellew? Was it a long range punch? Was it a short range punch, or was it a mid range punch, Tony?
Okay, so
what distance was it from, Tony?
I'm gonna show you.
What distance was it from?
Oh, it's a beautiful straight left.
And okay, so
it's a beautiful
was
straight
it
left.
Again? I'll ask you the question again. I'll ask the question again, Tony. Was it a short range punch? Was it a mid range punch? Or was it a long range punch?
It's a long range punch.
Okay, it was a mid range punch in my opinion. But go ahead.
Okay, it's a long range punch.
It was in between long and mid. It
definitely wasn't short range. But by the way,
wasn't a
even if
short range
even
punch,
if it was long range, I'm sorry, but Tony Baylor weighed in for that fight at 200 pounds and is about 6'2.5". I mean, that's not
So the height,
6'3". That's not
So what you're saying is,
without the length and reach of Fury. So I mean,
so
it's
uh,
not.
the argument is not whether or not
can
he
we all
can punch.
agree? Can we all agree that it wasn't a short range punch that knocked out Tony Bellew? Yes or no?
Yeah,
Yes.
we can all agree that.
Can we all agree the punch that knocked out the punch that knocked out Daniel Dubois was not a short range punch?
Yeah.
Can we agree that the punch that knocked out Deontay Wilder was a short range punch? Because he went up and underneath Deontay Wilder, and he threw an overhand right close. He did the same thing to Steve Cunningham, another short range right hand. Right? He's knocked out people with short range punches before. Fury has.
Yeah.
He's knocked down people with body shots before. Fury has. He's fought well on the inside against a lot of fighters. Usyk is most dangerous and he's most capable, in my opinion, and history has proved me right. If you go back and watch the tapes, when he's in the mid-range area.
I can't wait for this fight. I'm really looking forward to this fight.
Quick question, Joe, if I may. So this is almost like a trial by jury. If you're a fight trainer, where do you want your guy to operate most from?
Where he's most effective.
So you want him to be stood right in front of this guy if he's most effective as a hooker?
The whole fight, no. What I want my fighter to do is I want my fighter to know how to turn his opponent. I want him to know how to shift his weight.
From long range, mid range, short range?
Wherever I see him most effective at.
Where is the most effective place to operate from at any
in my opinion, looking at most fighters that I've
fighter, and not most, any.
What is the most effective? What I've seen empirically?
Any.
Well, it depends on the dimensions of the fighter. If you're tall, you want to keep it long. If you're shorter, you want to work on the inside.
I would say, from my own experience watching fighters, the most comfortable place for fighters to be, honestly, in my opinion, is the mid-range. No one likes to be on the inside. You know why? Because you're in the kitchen. You're in the heat zone. Right?
So if you have just answered your own problem, because you're trying to make a guy become an inside fighter when you
I'm not trying to make I would never try to make Usyk an inside fighter. I would want Usyk to be exactly who he is.
Right.
But I wouldn't want to try to turn Julio Cesar Chavez into Usyk. I wouldn't want to try to turn Andre Ward into Usyk. I wouldn't want to try to turn Bernard Hopkins into Usyk. You know why?
Is Andre Ward really an all-in inside fighter?
Later in his career, later in his career, he moved a lot less. Let me explain something to you. Later in his career, he moved a lot less and became more of a clinch fighter. Go back and watch both Kovalev fights. He won those fights primarily by clinch fighting.
He did.
I'm just being honest with you, Tony.
Yeah.
Tony, listen. Tony, when saying someone's not, like, if you're a multimillionaire, Tony, right? Warren Buffett is great at investing. He's great at trading stocks, right? He's a billionaire, but he's not a real estate guy.
Yeah.
Does that mean Warren Buffett's not successful?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so you don't have to be all things to everybody to be successful.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. By saying Usyk is not a great inside fighter, that does not diminish. Just like when if someone's, let me ask you this, Tony, you're a teacher, right?
Yeah.
And you guys are graded a lot on competency tests. I would assume, correct me if I'm wrong, right? So you go in an interview, right? And maybe your maybe your GPA in college was a 3.8, right? That's a great GPA. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So if you go on an interview and you lie and you say you have a 4.0, you're overrating yourself, right?
Yeah,
that mean
that's correct.
Does that mean you're bad at what you do? Does that mean 3.8 all of a sudden sucks? You can be overrated, or you could be one dimensional. Like all these negative connotation style type words, they don't mean you're not great. They don't mean you're not good. They don't. They don't mean you're not successful. You just are who you are.
I think you've landed where I wanted you to land. Because
can we at least
you're kind of saying what I'm trying to say.
Because you misconstrue everything I say.
I didn't.
You usually do, because when I made a point about Joshua not having to keep his lead foot outside of Wallen's
so we want to have that discussion.
No, let me unpack this. Let me unpack this. Right?
Okay.
Let me unpack this. All the point I was trying to make is, you hear these analysts say that you have to fight the whole fight looking down at your opponent's foot and make sure all the time, regardless of what you're doing, that you have to have your lead foot out that other guy's lead foot. All I'm saying is, depending on where you are, from what distance and range you are, and what type of punch you're throwing, right? You don't have to have your lead foot out. If you're on the outside throwing a jab, your lead foot, if you're fighting a southpaw, in many cases, is actually going to be inside his lead foot. Now, when you throw the right hand, by nature, you're automatically kicking that lead foot out when you're throwing the right hand, because you're kicking that lead foot out because you're positioning yourself for the hook.
Kicking the lead foot out where?
You're sliding your lead foot out. Whether if you're an orthodox fighter, when you're throwing a right hand,
I don't ever move my lead foot out when I'm jabbing, my friend.
No. When you're throwing your right hand, after you throw the jab, you move it straight.
Yeah.
Then when you throw the right hand, you're pushing off your back foot.
Yeah.
Automatically, when you throw the right hand, you're sliding your lead foot out because you're positioning yourself to throw the hook.
So look at my feet, yeah?
Yes.
Look at my feet, yeah? They're at 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
When I throw my right hand, this is what happens to my back foot.
But where does your lead foot go when you're trying to step in with your right hand?
Nowhere.
Yeah, see, that's not how I was taught. I was always taught because you're constantly shifting and sliding your feet in order to put yourself in position to punch.
You can't punch and move your feet. Sorry,
not simultaneously. Not simultaneously. So let me ask you this.
Okay.
You're trying to throw a hook, right?
Yeah. Which hook? Which hook?
I always call the lead punch a hook. I don't I don't call a backhand a hook. I call it a looping shot. I was taught.
Why are you trying to rewrite the book, bro?
I'm not. I'm not rewriting. I'm not rewriting.
You just literally said it.
I'm not. No. Hold on.
A lead hook is a lead hook. A lead jab is a lead jab.
No. Hold on.
Backhand is the backhand.
No. Some people call a punch thrown from the backhand when it's looping, they call it a right hook. I call it a looping right hand. Now, if you want to call that a right hook, that's fine. I've heard.
We've had this discussion before, Joe. The Soviets taught a right backhand hook. The Cubans throw a right backhand hook as well. But it's not as common in Western United States boxing.
And again, I'm not saying this because I was taught this way. I'm just telling you what I was taught and what my mentality was. Whenever you throw a looping circular shot from the back, we were always taught that's called a looping right hand. Now today they call it right hook. If you're throwing a punch from the back position, I've even heard Bernard Hopkins call it a right hook. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying it's not the way I was taught. So
anyways, back to the dimensional thing.
The reason why I'm telling you this is whenever I say hook, that means it's coming from the front, not the back. And some people think that a hook, and they say that a hook is coming from the back. They'll say a looping right. So in other words, if you're here and you throw a right hand like this, my trainer would call that a looping right hand.
There's different trainers teach different things. For instance, Tony, when you moved your back foot and twisted it when you threw the right hand, there are trainers that swear against that. because they think that it makes you off balance.
Tony,
After throwing the
Tony,
shot. So there's different things.
Tony, when you're throwing a right hand and you're pushing off your back foot, your lead foot slides out because you're trying to set up in order to set up your hook, you have to open yourself up. You have to open your stance up a little bit. You can't keep your stance like if you're throwing a jab and you're throwing it straight, you're going like this. And then when you push and you shift, you have to slide your foot outward to set up your hook. When you're throwing your right hand, in order to get leverage, you're turning your body over. You have to. It's almost like when you're swinging a bat, you're going in this direction. So when you're throwing a jab, you're moving straight. So your foot's going straight. And then you're pushing off your back foot. Now you're throwing your right hand. When you throw your right hand and you're twisting your body this way, automatically your lead foot is sliding out because you're shifting your weight differently and you're trying to set up the hook off your right hand. So your foot is going to slide. Your foot is supposed to slide out.
Let me ask Tony a question. Tony,
you can't keep your feet in the same position when you're throwing specific punches. Your feet are sliding. You're pushing off, you're shifting weight, and when you're shifting weight, you're sliding your feet out. Now, all you got to do is go back and watch when he was throwing the right hand, his lead foot was outside Wallen's foot. When he was throwing the jab, in a lot of cases, it was inside because he was jabbing inside Wallen. He's trying to get inside Wallen.
Well, the jab is going to be closer when your lead foot is on the inside. Your jab is going to be less straight when your lead foot is on the outside.
If you throw a right hand with your foot on the inside of your lead opponents, it's going to be harder to land that. You're not going to land it properly. You have to.
But that's not the case with the jab. That's not the case with the jab.
It's not the case with the jab. So the reason why I brought up that point is, once again, you love that word nuanced. So it's nuanced on foot positioning when fighting a southpaw, depending upon where you are, what punch you're throwing, right? That's the point I was trying to make. And you were trying to say, oh, well, I'm saying that Joshua's Willie Pep. He's Muhammad Ali. That's not like again. You super unleaded who loves to gaslight. I mean, that's that you got. He's got
jet fuel with Tony. But Tony, we're talking about 2024. Let's pivot here real quick. Let's pivot. Talking about 2024.
Question. Did you didn't want to ask that question, Maestro? You had a question.
Yeah, my question is coming up. 2024. Who is AJ going to fight next? And is that who you would want AJ to fight next? I'm very interested.
I'm really not really that bothered about where AJ goes because I'm more interested in the heavyweight championship of the world.
That's what AJ says he's interested in. Apparently he wants to fight for a vacant title against Hrgovic.
But so is Zhilei Zhang, so is Philip Hrgovic, so is Ajit Kabayel, so is Jared Miller. So, everybody wants a shot. The people I want to talk about are the people who can realistically get a shot.
Tony, you want to hear my take?
So I want to talk about Tyson Fury versus Usyk. That's the only fight I'm really concerned with because I know it's scheduled, but I actually want to see it cross the line. And then once that happens, we start seeing the dissemination of the belts, and then we can start talking about if, buts, and maybes, and the chasing pack. But in my viewpoint right now, what does AJ do? I really couldn't give a hoot. I don't concern myself with what ifs, which is why when we talk on the breakdown, we don't talk about ethic, about mythical fights that could happen. No. There's no point. I'll be here till tomorrow if I talked about mythical fights that could happen.
Well, these are not mythical fights. We're not talking about Rocky Marciano returning from the grave and fighting AJ. We're talking about guys that are contenders right now in 2023, about to be 2024, who are maneuvering for title shots.
We do know that fights were talked about before those two guys went out of their prime. I'm going to talk about a mythical fight.
Yeah.
Aaron Pryor versus Sugar Ray Leonard. The fight I wanted to see when I was young was my favorite fighter was Aaron Pryor.
Oh, really? This is news to me. I did not know that.
And guess what? The mythical fight remained mythical.
Mm. Joe, go for it.
Well, we know it's pretty safe to say that AJ will be needing a fight in the first quarter of 2024. He's more than likely going to return in March. Now, the whole Hrgovic situation, that's going to be a process. I've already said this. Fury's going to fight Usyk on February 17th. When he beats Usyk and he rematches him, they're going to vacate the IBF title. That's going to be a process. That's going to be a process. So he's probably going to fight for the vacant title at some point next year, but it's going to be later in the year. So he's going to need a fight to keep himself busy, right? My two things is this. He even said after the press conference at Day of Reckoning, he said, me and Wilder can still do big numbers. Wilder even said, hey, listen, we signed a contract. Win, lose, or draw, we were supposed to fight. I don't know how true that is. It's all speculation. So this could be, a fight in the interim for Joshua. Either fight Wilder or fight Ngannou. These are two big money fights because those two fights are always going to be a bigger money fight than Hrgovic. The Hrgovic fight, why fight the Hrgovic fight now without the title on the line when you know you can fight him later for the title on the line? I said that. Base, with all due respect to Base said, okay, well, he could fight him in March and it could be for the interim title and then they could elevate him. So when was the last time you ever seen the IBF have an interim champion? Mostly I've never seen the IBF have an interim champion. These guys have ranked number 1 and 2 vacant sometimes.
I can't name you the fighter, but I know it's happened.
It's very rare that they do that. They're the least likely to have an interim champion. We can agree on that. So I don't think they're going to do that. Like, why not just wait for the IBF is pretty much follows the letter to the law when it comes to their rules, right? They follow the process. They're going to wait and go through the process. And then after February 17th, they'll probably wait a couple weeks. Maybe it'll be sometime in March where that title will actually be vacant, right? And that fight between Hrgovic and Joshua could probably be maybe in June or something, right? June or July, probably July, right? I could see that fight happen in July with Joshua and Hrgovic for the vacant title. But you still have a March fight that Joshua is going to want to have. Why? Like, why not fight name me a bigger money fight for Joshua outside of Fury, and Fury is going to be tied up for 2 fights anyways. Is Joshua versus Hrgovic still a bigger money fight than Joshua versus Wilder? Is it still a bigger money fight than Joshua versus Ngannou? I believe, in my own humble opinion, that the next fight for Joshua, if I'm his manager, would be either one of those 2 guys, right? And I think that, to me, makes the most logical sense. And then you do.
I think that the Ngannou fight definitely does.
I think you do the Hrgovic fight, like I said, in the summertime. That's just my take on the whole thing. And you say, well,
the thing you got to bear in mind is Riyadh season, because it obviously has a start and an end point and a break in the middle.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of what happens is going to be based on the closure to Riyadh season 23-24 and the reopening 24-25.
Yep. So March 9th, I think, is still going to be the date for Joshua, in my opinion. And I think I think the most likely 2 candidates are going to be Wilder or Ngannou. Why would you fight?
When you look at Ngannou,
why would you fight Zhang? Why would you fight Dubois? I still think those other
Dubois
2 fights
makes no sense, but Zhang in China could be.
I still don't think it does. It's still not going to get as much attention as Joshua Wilder or Joshua versus Ngannou, in my opinion.
See, I think there was a comment earlier in your chat about Euro versus Euro fight and not being a big attraction in the US. the world is bigger than the US, and what you
Agreed.
have
I
to bear
agree.
in mind.
I've always said that. I've
Yeah.
always said that.
And what
Agreed.
you have to bear in mind is, yeah, Zhang versus Joshua in the US is unattractive to any US citizen. However,
It's
big in China.
it's massive. The numbers are ridiculous. They're through the roof.
Yeah, but Zhang can fight anybody. Zhang could fight anybody in China, and the numbers are going to be amazing.
I think he had like 500 million people watching him when he fought Joe Joyce in his last fight.
Here's the thing: when they say Saudi's taken over boxing, Saudi could never ever take over boxing fully, and I'll tell you why. When you have a fight like Canelo versus David Benavidez, that fight could never be in Saudi because of the time difference, right? America is a fringe market for boxing, but it still has the largest economy in the world. And the biggest fights of the year are always, more often than not, are going to happen in America from a monetary standpoint. Davis versus Garcia, nothing touched that in terms of revenue generated. Spence versus Crawford. All you got to do is look at the top 10 highest grossing fights of all time. With all due respect, and I know I have dual citizenship. I love the UK, but you're never going to see a UK fight on the top 10.
Both of you got dual citizenship, really?
Well, yeah, I actually have it. Joe's joking.
When I go to UK, man, no. When I go to UK, I got a flat in Manchester. When I go to UK, they treat me like a god.
Manchester isn't even in the UK, bro. To the Londoners, Manchester is a different country.
I'm talking about before Brexit. This is before Brexit. When I look at the date on my deed for that property. But anyways, so yeah, I think Saudi is a bigger threat to the UK because the time zone is similar, right?
It's not, Joe.
I said that, and Tony chewed my head off for saying that earlier this year.
I have to give you the UK perspective, and remember, I'm in several groups with boxing fans, not only the Undefeated podcast and its supporters.
I love that podcast too, Tony.
Okay. So
I think you're the star of that show. I don't know.
You should
get a raise. No. I see you waxing Maestro on that show every time he's on there. You know, you are the number one guy on that show.
I gave you all hell on Wednesday night, bro. I went in on you on Wednesday night.
Me?
What happened? Yeah, what happened on Wednesday? What happened on Wednesday night? What did I miss?
So Wednesday night, I had to go in on your analogy about footwork because I had to basically say, listen, this guy in America, Joe Habib, was criticizing footwork when we've just seen one of the greatest
complimenting. I was complimenting it.
Hang on, let me land. So we just saw one of the greatest exponents of footwork in Naoya Inoue destroy a man using great footwork, and you're telling me it doesn't matter where you put foot position. Are you crazy?
No. Again, you keep missing it. You keep missing it. Super unleaded. This is what I was trying to say. When they were constantly saying Joshua has to keep his lead foot outside of Wallen's, I was just saying that was wrong. That's all I'm saying. Joshua had.
It's almost an old trope at this point. I mean,
Emmanuel Stewart during an HBO telecast, Max Kellerman said that to Emmanuel Stewart, and he said, "No, I never put much stock into that."
So this is where I've ripped you, because essentially you're using an old an old quote from Emmanuel Stewart.
I was dismissing it
with chest to say footwork is unimportant.
That's not
he never. Look, stop, Tony, stop. Joe, let me handle this.
You're a teacher.
Joe, let me handle this.
Let me finish.
Joe,
let me finish. You're a teacher. How are you not comprehending this, Tony?
Because you're.
It's not that footwork. It's Tony. It's not that footwork doesn't matter.
Tony, I was complimenting the footwork and saying he wasn't doing what they were saying he was doing.
Yes, but your point was Emmanuel Stewart said footwork and positioning of footwork.
No, stop. No. That's not what he said.
Emmanuel Stewart said when fighting a southpaw,
your foot doesn't need to be on the outside.
The lead foot doesn't have to always be on your opponent's
It doesn't
lead
always
foot.
have to. However,
That's what I said.
there is significant advantages to understanding where you place your feet when fighting a fight.
Look, if you want to land,
determining what punch you're throwing and determining where your range is. During that telecast, they made a blanket statement that said he has to have his lead.
always, at all times.
No.
Yes, that's what they were saying. That's what they were saying. That's what they were saying. That's what they were saying.
They didn't say that. That's a lie.
Yes, they did.
You always have to have your left foot on the outside of the...
Sergio Mora kept saying, just like Sergio Mora, every time someone throws a left hook, what does he do? Calls it a
check hook.
Is every left hook thrown it? Sergio, you have to admit what Sergio Mora does when he broadcasts.
Yeah.
I'm just criticizing what he does.
Okay.
Is every hook a check hook?
No.
Do you have to fight the whole fight looking down at your foot, no matter where you are, no matter what's going on? That's all I said, Tony.
So look, here's the biomechanics of what's going on. When you're the orthodox fighter fighting the southpaw fighter, to land your right hand straight into the target, yes, it's better to have your lead foot, your left foot on the outside. However, if you're using the jab, which Joshua was doing beautifully, having your foot on the inside actually allows you to be closer and straighter to the target. So all Joe's saying is what I've been saying for years, and he's been saying for years, which is that this old trope of if you're the orthodox fighter, always having your lead foot on the outside is inaccurate. In fact, if you're using good footwork, you need to shift from the outside to the inside, depending on what punches you want to land. That's the point I've been making for years, and Joe's been saying that as well.
I'm going to quote somebody else. Another great guy that I love, Al Bernstein. They always say, "Oh, you have to. The greatest weapon against a southpaw is a straight right hand, right?" Which I somewhat agree with, right? But the perception is that you have to constantly throw lead right hands against the southpaw, and a left hook and a jab is ineffective against a southpaw. That's incorrect. Al Bernstein would always say, I think a left hook he likes the left hook right hand combination versus a southpaw instead of the right hand left hook combination.
And to do that, you need to set your feet and shift your feet. You need to move from the inside for the hook to outside for the right hand.
And you have to.
So So let's break that down. To throw the left hook on the inside, you're stepping into a backhand.
Yeah, I'm not saying it from the inside. I'm saying it from the mid-range.
Okay, so I'm gonna finish this one. You're trying to make a point, Joe, and all I'm saying is when me as a casual listener are listening to what you're saying, it sounds like. And I don't want you to.
You were the only one that took that away from it. You're the outlier here. Everyone else understood what I said.
Okay, so maybe everybody else did understand, but I'm saying it the way I heard it.
You're super unleaded. Everyone else is regular. But go ahead.
The way I heard it, yeah. And it sounds like you're saying,
not a good listener.
Emmanuel Stewart is right. You don't need to worry about your footwork.
When would Emmanuel Stewart ever say you don't need to worry about footwork? That doesn't even make sense.
Go back.
That doesn't even make that's not what he said.
Go back.
That's not what he said.
Wait.
You used the quote.
No, go back and
listen.
Chess. This is what the quote was.
Go ahead.
It is not important to keep the lead foot outside of the lead foot all the time. I don't pay much attention to that. Where did Emmanuel Stewart? How do you take? That's like me saying, I love mangoes better than oranges.
Wrong analogy. Wrong analogy.
Wait.
analogy.
Wait. And then you say, why does Beeb think oranges suck? No, I just said that mangoes were better. That's what you're doing.
No, wrong analogy.
When did Emmanuel Stewart, when did Joe Habib and Emmanuel Stewart ever say
Footwork's not important.
Quote
You
word
just
for
said
word.
it again. You just quoted it.
No, I
just
said they
quoted
never said that.
You
They said
just
they
quoted
never
it.
said that. No, you said that. They never said that. You
I
said
didn't
that.
say
Everybody, everybody,
I have never
everybody,
quoted
Tony,
Emmanuel Stewart.
everybody in the chat
Hey,
thinks you have a psychological disorder right now.
Listen. I'm lucky. I'm one of the luckiest guys alive. I've been to Emmanuel Stewart's house. You know, he has a training gym in the back of his house. Yeah. I've been to that house. I was lucky enough to once upon a time, go to Detroit because I wanted to see this vaunted Crunk gym. And guess what? A very good friend of mine, fellow Guyanese, named Dennis Andrews, took me from the Crunk gym to Manu Stewart's house. So guess what? I've met Manny Stewart, but I don't never quote him the way you just quoted him, son. Never.
And guess what, Tony? Venezuela's taking back their
Tony,
rightful territory to Essequibo. Venezuela's getting back their rightful territory, stolen from
Venezuela,
them by the
come!
British.
Come,
Stolen from them by the
Venezuela!
British.
Come,
Stolen for them.
Venezuela!
Tony, are you prepared to say that I'm misquoting Emmanuel Stewart? Do you honestly? I had Emmanuel Stewart's phone number and I interviewed him a couple times. Are you going as far as saying that Emmanuel Stewart did not say it's not always important to have your lead foot outside your opponent's lead?
You're missing the context of what he said.
No, you're missing the context. You still don't understand what I'm saying after I explained it to you? You honestly don't understand it?
I don't. No,
you're gaslighting. No, you're not. You're gaslighting.
There's no way, Tony. There's no way Tony doesn't understand.
Tony, you're gaslighting. You're trolling. I know you're trolling.
Get me out of here.
You're gaslighting.
Get me out of here.
You're gaslighting. Ward versus
Essequibo's going back to its rightful owner, the Venezuelan, the Bolivian Republic of Venezuela.
You're
on behalf of the people of Guyana, Venezuela.
Shout out
land stolen by the British.
Shout out to CN. Ward versus Dawson. He breaks all textbook rules for boxing southpaws. Foot positioning wasn't always. Let me read. Oh my God! You're not letting me read it. You're not going to let me read the super chat.
I'm coming off. I'm coming off, Joe.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much for your time. It's been great talking.
Okay, Super Unleashed.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, High Octane.
Man,
okay.
Imagine being in Tony's class as a student.
If I was a
you're preparing.
If I was a student in that classroom, my mother and father would be up there getting me a transfer. All right. Shout out to CN. He says, Ward versus Dawson. He breaks all the textbook rules for boxing southpaws. Foot positioning wasn't always on the outside. Moved to his right toward Chad's backhand, but countered with his own backhand. Again, thank you.
See, here's the thing. Even in terms of movement, right? In terms of what direction you're supposed to move against a southpaw, it also depends on what range you're in. The idea that you're just supposed to be moving in one direction the whole fight is absolutely ridiculous. And that's reversed too, obviously, when a southpaw is fighting an orthodox fighter. We saw this when Regis Prograis fought Danielito Zorrilla. I mean, he just wasn't getting it. And, I think that's one of the main reasons Bill Haney and Devin Haney are like, yeah, you know what? This guy's only does one thing and we're going to expose him and we're going to outbox him. And that's actually what ended up happening when Devin Haney fought Regis earlier this year. So last month, actually. But I'm sorry about that, Joe. Let's move on. Was there another topic you wanted to discuss? Because we spent quite a long time there talking about footwork.
Yeah, he was gaslighting. But anyway.
And dimensions.
He was gaslighting. So we got to look to 2024, right?
Yes, sir.
So we got to look at Dmitry Bivol. He was in Saudi.
Yeah.
Beterbiev was in Saudi during the Battle of the Baddest, right?
Yeah.
And basically, too, they've come out and said that Dmitry Bivol has signed to fight Artur Beterbiev if Artur Beterbiev gets past Callum Smith. So that fight looks like it's going to be a done deal in 2024. So that when you take that fight, you take the undisputed fight. So that's going to be two undisputed fights, one at heavyweight, one at light heavyweight. Then you're talking about Ryan Garcia fighting Devin Haney. That's another huge event.
Very huge.
I honestly think that Canelo Alvarez is going to be fighting David Benavidez at some point. I think he may even fight him next. I'm in the minority there. A lot of people think it's going to be September. I think it could. I think it's going to be in May. Right?
Call me crazy. I think John Ryder, Jaime Munguia is a good fight. I'm actually looking forward to that one. That's going to be all action. That's all action.
That's a great fight too. So just when we thought that 2023, or most people thought, or at least I thought, maybe even you thought, I don't want to put words in your mouth, that was like a monster year.
Monster year.
2024 shaping up to be even a bigger monster year, if you think.
Bro, I went to Vegas 3 times in 2023. I went there for Ryan against Tank. I went there for Haney against Loma, and I went there for Spence versus Crawford. Yeah. First time I've ever done that. I've done 2 before, but 3 massive fights.
Tio's fighting Jermaine Ortiz. That's another sleeper of a fight. Thank you so much, Cali K, for saying that, because Jermaine Ortiz is a very underrated.
Very good. From your neck of the woods, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Yeah. So most everyone's talking about fighter of the year, everyone's talking about closing out this year, but I'm looking forward to next year. And next year looks like it's going to be a monster. So let's talk about this PBC deal with Amazon. Now, everyone thinks that, okay, well, it's going to be the same formula that they have with Showtime, but let's not make no mistake about it. They knew they were going off Showtime, so that was more or less a going out of sale type
final year.
Yeah, it was
for Showtime. Yeah,
going out of a sale type strategy right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the same strategy is going to be practiced at Amazon. I don't think they're gonna employ that same strategy. And I've also heard Ness was saying this. And I talked to Ness about this via text. He was saying that he heard that PBC's got another broadcaster in the works. And
Ness from the Boxing Voice, for those of you who don't know.
Yeah, Ness from the Boxing Voice. Thank you for that. And he was saying that there's going to be another broadcaster, right? And he asked his source, well, who's it going to be? And he was like, well, it's going to be sort of like, like one of them NBC, ABC type networks. So immediately Peacock popped into my head, because Peacock is basically NBC, right? And Peacock,
and they're also in boxing through Boxer right now. They're the U.S. outlet for Boxer.
And I didn't know this as well. Bob Arum has a deal with Amazon for
Inoue
and Japanese telecast. I didn't know that. So people
Taken and Top Rank. Yeah,
people complain about there's too many promoters, there's too much networks, but I think competition has shown us that it's better for the sport, because now what we're seeing if you're a boxing fan, and I'm saying a true boxing fan, not just a fan of fighters, or if you're xenophobic and you think that the fighter of the year has to be American and no fights matter unless they're from between 2 American fighters. If you're a true global boxing fan, like we are, right?
Yep.
This is beautiful. Most people already have an Amazon membership, so they're already going to be exposed to that, right? A lot of people already have a Peacock membership. Not everyone, but a lot. I have a Peacock membership through my cable subscription, right?
I want to make a quick point on that too about Amazon, real quick, before you pivot, Joe.
Yeah.
Amazon also has tried and true technology with live streaming of sporting events, not just in Japan with boxing, but all over the world, and especially here in the United States with NFL and other sports.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I've been facing a lot of technical issues with the Zone. So I think it's good to have a player in the game that has a good, solid infrastructure for streaming live sporting events. And not just that, competition is very good for fighters, because the alternative is this UFC type situation. And we all know what happens to fighters and fighter pay when that happens. But Joe, sorry, go for it.
Yeah, and if you just look at, again, the streaming on the Zone, and I know that the Zone fanboys, a lot of these UK guys, they love the Zone because they love Eddie Hearn, and they love the Zone because it's cheap for them, but they don't realize that we're paying almost triple what they're paying. and then we have to pay extra for those pay-per-views, and a lot of the fights that we're paying on pay-per-view, they're getting for free. So when we do a comparative analysis and we look at the zone's quality versus Peacock's quality versus ESPN's quality, it's and even Amazon's quality, because I've streamed stuff on Amazon before. It's sports.
I had to get my money back from the zone. I'm just going to straight up say it. I mean, I'm sorry. When I buy a pay-per-view fight and I don't get audio for the main event, I didn't get my money's worth. As for Eddie Hearn, I like Eddie. I like Matchroom. I think Eddie's, a great promoter, but I'll be honest, I don't understand a lot of the YouTube obsession with Eddie. I mean, nobody goes up to Bob Arum. Oh, Bob, Roberto, how was your run? Oh, that's a nice sweater, Roberto. How are you feeling today? I mean, this is how they treat Eddie. They're asking him about his outfits, about 5K. Nobody's interested. Let's face facts. We want you talking to the promoters about fights. That's it. I'm not interested in what he had for breakfast and his sweater, or whether he's in pajamas or whatever the hell. I mean, some of these interviews with Eddie are off the charts, like sycophantish. Sorry, I went on a diatribe there, but I'm sorry.
I've never seen a promoter have so many fans before, like Eddie Hearn. Like this, they just worship this guy, and I like the guy. I don't have anything against him. I think he's a successful promoter.
See,
but I'm not going to cape for it. Like I never remembered back in the day when Hagler was fighting Hearns, and Hagler was fighting Leonard, and Tyson was fighting Michael Spinks and Buster Douglas and all the and Evander Holyfield. We never heard about promoters, networks. All we heard about was the fights and the fighters. This new era of boxing is really fucking corny to me, bro. I'm just being honest. I'm sorry to say that, but and I'm glad now that all these promoters like Eddie Hearn and Frank are starting to work together, and it looks like Golden Boy is going to be pulled into the mix too with Eddie Hearn. So now a lot of this fucking fanboyism will probably maybe subside a bit. Hopefully, we'll see. But
I agree.
But yeah, so we're gonna have Bivol versus
Eduardinho.
We're gonna have Bivol versus Beterbiev. We're gonna have Garcia versus Haney. We're gonna have Fury versus Usyk, obviously. And I just think it's gonna be I think it's just gonna get better and better, man. Listen to this. Eddie has made himself accessible. He's a man of again.
Bob Arum's accessible. I can call Bob Arum. Joe's done telephone interviews with Bob Arum. Every time I ask Bob Arum for an interview at a fight, Bob Arum graces me with an interview. You can look at my channel. You know what I don't do with Bob Arum? Oh, Roberto Arum. That's a beautiful sweater. How are you doing today, Roberto? Like, who does this? Unfortunately, a few people do it with Eddie Hearn.
Listen, Eddie Hearn is a net positive for the sport of boxing. But making statements like Eddie Hearn has made himself accessible, he's a man of the people. I mean, come on, like you're talking about him like he's a world leader or something like that. I mean, I have nothing against the guy.
He's talking about him like he's Nicolas Maduro, the president of Venezuela. That's what he's talking about him, right, Tony?
You're putting the guy on a pedestal, man. Like, I'm not going to go that far, bro. I mean, he's a boxing promoter. I mean, he's trying to make money for himself and his fighters. I'm sure he takes pride in what he does. I give him credit for that, but I don't know. He's not here to represent me like he's like my congressman or my senator or something.
Oh, Eduardo, next time I'm going to try to keep up with you better in the 5K run, Eduardinho.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So what's he saying? In the UK, we appreciate. Okay, I got it.
So again,
the grind. I appreciate the grind too. But I mean,
are you more appreciative of Eddie Hearn, or are you more appreciative of the guys who actually get in the ring and fight? I mean, let's just keep it in perspective. Eddie's not taking the punches. Okay. He's using the zone's money to make the fights. Again, he's doing a great job. I'm not downing the guy, but I'm a fighter first guy. I'm not going to put a promoter over a fighter. You want to do that?
I don't understand, but here's the other thing. There's this constant thrashing in the UK with some people of Frank Warren. Frank Warren gives interviews. I mean, Frank Warren's
Eddie Hearn's job is to put on the best fights possible for him for the fans and for his fighters. So he's doing his job. Is Eddie Hearn doing anything that Bob Arum's not doing or Frank Warren's not doing? Look what Frank Warren's done.
No, I don't think CN understands it. I don't have a problem with Eddie's humor. I thought Eddie's humor was hilarious. I still laugh my ass off every time I think of Shelly Fink. See, I just did it. Shelly Finkel, the name Shirley Winkle comes to mind. Yeah, or the stuff that was back and forth with Stephen. It's not that. I'm talking about the YouTubers doing the interviews. That's what I'm talking about. It's not about Eddie Hearn. It's about people going up to Eddie trying to be funny when guess what? It's not funny to call him Eduardinho or Eduardo and start talking about how his 5K runs were and what fucking Dolce and Gabbana what do you call it? Outfit he's wearing. That's not interesting, bro.
Listen, we're not saying Eddie doesn't resonate with British humor, culture, banter. You guys wouldn't get it. He's like the Ricky Gervais of boxing. Again,
I like Ricky Gervais.
Again, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Charlie Parsons literally sucking his dick when he's giving him an interview, fawning all over the guy. I mean, that would be beneath someone like me. I can't dig ride another man hard like that. Now, if you guys...
Americans are unable to understand the love Eddie gets. Okay.
Yeah, I am unable to understand. I am unable to understand that when I'm watching a boxing match, that I'm going to be thinking about Eddie Hearn more than the actual fight itself. Yeah, I am unable to understand that. I come from a different world. I don't root for promoters. I don't watch a football game or a basketball game and talk about who's the owner of the team. I talk about the actual performance. So I'm just being honest. I'm not gonna. So
CN comes back. He says that's not funny to you, bro. But there's millions of Brits that find it entertaining. Okay, so you like Eduardinho and Eduardo and all of this other stuff.
If you enjoy another grown man dick riding another grown man, then have at it. Have at it. That's the equivalent to me of watching gay porn. But go ahead.
Joe.
Yes, Tony. How old are you, Tony, first of all?
I'm 55.
I'm 54.
Right. So I'm your senior, bro.
By one freaking year, but go ahead.
I'm your senior, bro.
Go ahead.
You tried it. You tried to get seniority, and it failed miserably. Now listen to me, bro. You guys have this thing called, and you're not going to deny it, the LDBC.
Oh, I can't stand them.
Oh, right. That's a wonderful tap, Tony.
Crying out loud. I'm done. Finished. That's my argument. The LDBC.
I noticed, Tony, that you have multiple grays in your beard today, Tony. What are your thoughts on that? I mean,
all right.
That's the equivalent of these interviews. Get the hell out of here.
Those interviews questions reflect a portion of the fan base. I won't say casual, but they enjoy entertainment anywhere they can get it. Shout out to Papa Chubby.
Papa Chubby. Big up Papa Chubby with the Canadian $5 super chat.
Listen, where I come from, another man just doesn't fawn over another man like that. If I've met Nestor Gibbs in public, I've met certain people in public. I give him a pound and I give him a hug, but I don't sit there and say, "Hey, Ness, look at you, man. Look how pretty you look in that blouse today." Like I'm not gonna sit there and fawn over another. I just don't do that shit, bro. I don't dick ride other men. Just me.
Ben Shalom from Boxer got exposed for asking the interviewer not to mention certain topics. At least Eddie is open to talk about anything. Yeah, look,
I'm not.
It's without question. Eddie Hearn is funnier, smarter, and a better promoter than Ben Shalom. There's no doubt about that. Like, I'm not here to compare Eddie Hearn to other promoters in that way. What I'm talking about is the way that these interviewers conduct their interviews with Eddie Hearn. And you know what the worst thing is about it? And this is why I'm not even doing that many interviews anymore, like these face-to-face interviews when I go to these fights. I'm going to show up to the fights. I'm going to Quebec City, by the way, for Beterbiev against Callum Smith. I'm not going to be lining up behind these people asking these ridiculous questions. It's embarrassing to me to wait to ask boxing questions to a promoter and have to listen to this. I'm literally standing beside these people or behind them while they're asking them these questions. It's insane.
Yeah, it's embarrassing, bro. It's embarrassing. So yeah, there's actually no fights this week, man. There's like one fight. What's that Ioka fight? And that's it, right?
Yeah, the Kazuto Ioka guys, he's fighting early tomorrow morning, New Year's Eve fight in Japan. It's a tradition. Let me look right now to see if we can find out if there's a U.S. broadcaster. Last 3 years going, I've been watching Kazuto Ioka, more than that, and have not been able to find these New Year's Eve fights. He's arguably the second biggest fighter in Japan right now. And he's also a future Hall of Famer. It's insane that nobody picks up this guy's fights here in the United States.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
But
I guess I wouldn't know about anything about global boxing because I live in the U.S., right, Joe?
That's the other misconception, like that everybody who lives in the U.S. is xenophobic, and it's kind of stupid, bro. If you ask me, I think it's dumb. I think it's really dumb.
Yeah, he's there's no announced TV broadcaster for this fight.
For what fight? Oh, this I think it's going to be on
yeah, the Ioka Perez fight.
Yeah. Here's the difference, Tony. You don't hear us big upping the LDBC. Like, you guys are saying are co-signing with guys like Charlie Parsons do over there. You know,
78 Sports Talk TV is embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
We laugh at 78 Sports TV and we don't take them serious. You guys are actually like saying, "Oh, what
you're defending these people."
You're defending Charlie Parsons for talking 15 minutes about a guy's sweater.
Yeah. CN, we do have Ellie Setback, but you know what? I'm not out here defending Ellie Setback in his interview style. I've clowned Ellie Setback with his interviews, right to Ellie Setback. Every time I see Ellie in Vegas or in another, you know what I say? Hey, Ellie, reporting, literally to his face.
I call Ellie Setback Ellie Ballback. I make fun of the guy. You don't even know who
hi, Tank. Tank, you look so strong today, Tank. You're so amazing, Tank.
He don't even know who Charlie Parsons is from fucking Boxing Social, the guy that's always freaking.
I'll give CN some credit here. He says Ellie created that interview style. He might be right about that.
I hope this isn't a troll. What's up, Juice?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. I think the problem that you're seeing with especially the interviews is because people don't want to be. I'd say particularly, I know you guys are big fan. My show's a big fan of Frank Warren, especially Frank Warren shows. If you look at his interviews, no one challenges him. There's a reason for that. He'll ban you or he'll possibly sue you. This has happened with several big platforms out here in the UK.
Oh, wow.
That's why no one challenges him in his interviews. It goes one way. With Eddie, I think it's the other way in terms of people become too friendly with him.
Yeah.
I think because he's younger and he knows how to talk, people become too friendly with him. But I think they do ask him harder questions than they ask Frank. But they'll become too friendly with him the other way, innit? But I just think the problem with boxing media is because it's so reliant on the promoters, if that makes sense. Whereas other sports, they can't be like, well, banning your accreditation. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to attend anyway. So you can be critical of LeBron James or critical of this person or critical of that, and you'll still go to games. You could be critical of Premier League footballers, and you'll still go to a Premier League match. You understand what I'm saying? Whereas boxing promoters, they can literally kind of just edge you out completely. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. I mean,
That's the
when
difference.
when
Why?
when Tank fought in Atlanta, forget who we fought in Atlanta off the top of my head. Wasn't the Rolly fight because I was in Brooklyn, but it was was it Mario Barrios, I think. Ring Magazine was denied a credential.
Yes.
I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, in what other sport would that happen? You know?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
So where are you
Be
from,
like-
Juice? You from London?
Yeah, I'm from London.
What part of London?
I'm from West London.
Okay. I used to live southwest.
Who you picking, Fury or Usyk?
I've got to go with Usyk, innit? Like, you're only as good as your last fight, and Tyson Fury looked terrible. So
Okay.
I've got to go with Usyk. I've got to think the movement, the stamina, the footwork, the constant throwing of punches. Fury, I don't think you're going to see a performance for Fury where he's going to try to roughhouse tactics it. So I think the referee is going to play a crucial part in this boxing match. I don't think Fury's going to be able to technically outbox him per se. He's going to have to try to lean on him or corner him and use his forearm. There's going to be a lot of that going on in it. So the referee is going to be very crucial in this boxing match.
So it'd be safe to say that Louis Pabom's probably not going to be the referee for this fight?
Well, we definitely need a referee that knows what a low blow is. That's for sure.
There's a rumor that before the fight, Louis Pabom and Alexander Usyk were seen having dinner together before the fight.
Is that a real rumor or you just make that up?
Just made it up.
Listen,
You gotta watch out. I'm not trying to get sued either.
The Lobo situation is horses for courses, in it, because it's just because, do you know what I'm saying? He got hit with a low blow. He got hit with blows in similar areas when he fought Joshua, and sometimes the referee might say that's a low blow, stop. So I don't know if it's because it's a taller. When I've noticed when taller fighters hit shorter fighters with lower punches, it may be legitimate, but I don't know if it's the angle. It kind of looks lower than it is, if that makes sense. Because they literally have to bend down. So sometimes
they gotta change. They gotta change levels. The level change is greater to throw the shot.
It makes it look like they're going lower than they are. Whereas if they were the same height, I don't know if that would.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that Dubois punch was low or was legal? Was that above
on the borderline, isn't it? I think some referees say low.
Was that
some referees say no?
Was that on above the hip bone? Now, granted, remember where the hip bone is. Was that below the hip bone?
I know where the hip bone is, but then
that's the rule.
It wasn't low, but then I've seen other.
If you were a referee in that fight, would you have called that a low blow? Put you on the spot right now. No, right? Okay.
But I don't think Usyk was that hurt either. I think he was exaggerating. I don't think he was.
Usyk also likes to coach the referees too by showing, that was low. Watch the body. That was low.
5 minutes. There's no way he needed 5 minutes.
I totally disagree with your statement respectfully, and I'll tell you why I disagree with it. Go back and watch him on the ground. Look at the still shots. He was literally gasping for air. His face was red. He got the wind knocked out of him, in my opinion. He really legitimately got the wind knocked out of him. Dubois was landing similar shots against Big Baby Miller. Big Baby Miller didn't go on the ground rolling around like that. So
yeah, I hear you, but it's weird. Sometimes guys that are like overweight like that tend to take body punches better.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah,
that's guys with abs take them worse. I don't know if it's an extra layer they got or something. I've noticed that. Big guys like that take body
his arm.
Well.
His arm was fucking shaking. That dude was fucking hurt, bro. He was hurt.
So, Juice, let me ask you this: AJ's next move. What would you like to see him do?
I'd say probably fight. I don't know. Probably Francis Ngannou, I guess.
See, that's a good fight.
I like that one too, because the other thing that you could do with the Francis Ngannou fight, coming off the Wallin win, is you could say, "Listen, I got Wallin out of there. Fury couldn't. look at what I do to Ngannou. That's how I would promote the fight if I was promoting it.
Yeah, I'd probably fight Ngannou. I say, and I wouldn't even wait till March. I'd wait till like probably end of February. I'd do that as soon as possible. I don't want to give Ngannou no long camp. You shouldn't need an extended camp to beat Ngannou. He's not going to outbox you. You know what he's coming to do. He's not going to come in with, I'd say, just end of February, you beat Ngannou, and then, yeah, you just get ready for...
I would still do that fight.
I say end of May, you fight Hrgovic for the IBS title. You win that title.
I would fight him. I would fight him on March 9th because you're already having the big one on February 17th. You don't want it in the same month. I would do it at March 9th, and then I would do Hrgovic in probably July. And that still leaves room for one more fight in December. That's what I would do.
I got another one for you, Juice, because I took a lot of heat for saying this when I was on one UK platform. I shouldn't say various, one. I had said that I felt Callum Smith was the UK's top light heavyweight, especially because of the inactivity of Buatsi and the fact that Yard has lost every time he steps up to world level. What kind of shot are you giving him against Beterbiev in a couple of weeks?
I give him a good shot, but the reason I give him a good shot is not necessarily because I believe he's necessarily more skillful or anything like that, just because Beterbiev's had a lot of hard fights. We don't know what the Anthony Yard fight could have taken out of him. Took a lot of heavy punches in that fight. I was one of the rare people, even amongst my friends, I was questioning, like everyone was hyping and ranting and raving about Joe Joyce, but I was like, listen, he was taking clean haymakers in that Parker fight. That's not good. And I think a chin is something that it's like, sometimes it could be like water hitting stone. It's just slowly eroding. I think part of the damage, particularly for Joyce, was done in that Parker fight. No heavyweight should be taking clean punches from someone who's 240 pounds. That is not, in the long run, that's not humanly possible. It's going to affect you. You can't be taking... Parker was landing flush hooks, uppercut, straight right hands, flush, full body, going into the punch, and you're just taking it in your face. Beterbiev, he took a lot of heavy punches from Yard, so we don't know if that could have taken something out of it. If it hasn't, then he should beat Callum Smith. I don't think it'll
Does Callum Smith do better than Yard, do you think?
It depends what tactics he uses. If he uses his brain and tries to use his length, unlike he did against Canelo, then yeah, he could frustrate Beterbiev for quite a long time. If he needs to use his length though. You have to use your height and reach. You can't go against the ropes and be trying to fight like you're 5'8" and you're 6'3". That doesn't make sense. You got to use if you use his length, he'll do 100% better, easy.
I mean, I was stunned when I met Callum Smith and I saw how tall he is, and that was when he was fighting at 168. I'm like, how the hell do you make 168 pounds, bro? It was before his brother fought. What's the name of that fighter from Cali that ran as a Republican and lost? Jesse Vargas. Before he fought Jesse Vargas, it was before that fight. I was like, damn, this guy's he's got to move up. And the thing is with me,
he looks like a cruiserweight. He looks like a natural cruiserweight.
Yeah, I always felt like must have been leaving something in the training camp just off of having to lose all of that weight, and then he'd be physically stronger. He'd be sharper at 175. And his first fight, obviously, we saw what he did to Lenin Castillo, but he hasn't fought in a while either. I think he's going to do better than Yard, but I'm definitely picking Beterbiev to win.
Okay. Papa Chubby, shout out to him, says, I like Smith in the fight, but the inactivity will be a problem. Inactivity is ruining careers.
Who are you guys picking to win the Usyk Fury fight?
I got Fury. Yeah, we got Fury.
But what's that based on?
I'll tell you what it's based on. I think Fury's a better outside fighter. I think Fury's a better inside fighter. And I think that outside? I mean, I think he does. I mean, yeah, I've seen him box Fury. I mean, look, Usyk's the one that's gonna have to. If Usyk keeps it long and tall from the outside, it's Usyk that's gonna have to do the most of the leg work to get to his mid range. I mean,
Juice. Excuse me. Here's what you have to understand. If you're expecting the same Fury to show up against Ngannou, I think that's wrong. And we've seen history showing us that, like, Fury's best when he's challenged the most, right? He had that fight with Wallen, and he had that bad cut, and everyone was like, "Oh, Wilder's gonna open that cut up again." He had one of the best performances of his career, and until we see a pattern of that, him having bad performances back to back to back, then we have to, at least I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Here's the problem with Usyk. I said this earlier. He's an ambush in and out mid-range guy. That's how he wins fights with sticking and moving, changing levels. He's going to have to, by trying to get into the mid-range, he's going to have to deal with Fury's long jab. That's number one. And if he does happen to get past that jab, Fury's going to reach out, grab on him, and he's going to lay on top of him.
That's why I said the referee's crucial.
The referee's crucial. But again, we're not going to have a ham and egg type referee like we have with Louis Pabam in there. So,
but that's not. But the tactics you're talking about, if we're going to complain about the Daniel Dubois, that's not really legal either. Like, that's not fighting on the inside. That's just constantly holding.
It's called clinch.
And if you get in a situation,
it's clinch fighting. You're allowed to work with the opposite head. Lennox Lewis did it brilliantly throughout his career.
Let's unpack that, because we have to use empirical data here. It's called clinch fighting, right?
Yeah.
We've seen Klitschko do it against David Hay. Seen
Andre Ward
do it. We saw Bernard
Terrence
Crawford, Bernard Hopkins.
More recently, we've seen Devin Haney do it to great effect.
Klitschko and Andre Ward was different though. Andre Ward was trying to work. Klitschko just literally was holding you in it. Like, that was. He's not trying to work. He's just holding you. Andre Ward was holding, at least trying to punch
I would agree, but he would use his weight to tire people out.
Heavyweights.
Fury tried to do
excellent clinch fighter.
Fury tried to do that against Ngannou.
Yeah, but Ngannou's big. That's different.
Ngannou's big. He's used to holding people up. Yeah. If you liked Fury before the Usyk fight, then I'm going to quote Dan Raphael. Then you should still like him after. Excuse me. If you like Fury after the Ngannou fight, then you should still like him after the Ngannou fight. If you liked Usyk before the Ngannou fight, then you should still like him before the Ngannou fight. I just think this is a different fight versus a different fighter, and I just believe that, I just think it's going to be a different fight. And I think Fury, like I said, has shown us different ways to win, where Usyk is more or less that ambush in and out guy who beats you with movement. And when you take the distance away from him and you're able to fight on the inside and you're able to rough him up like we saw Chisora do it, we saw Briedis do it, and we saw Dubois do it in certain spots, particularly when he landed that punch that I thought should have been legal. I think Usyk's going to have a lot of problems in this fight because it's a bad style matchup for him, in my opinion. Drew, go ahead. Drew, go ahead, brother.
First of all, Maestro Beeb, smash your black T-shirts.
Yeah.
But let me get this. I'll be honest with you. I had Fury beating Usyk before the Ngannou fight. I still picked Fury. I didn't think he took the Ngannou fight seriously at all. And I think it kind of backfired on him a little bit, because Ngannou actually came to fight and he has some type of skill, but everybody doesn't count. Ngannou was a striker in MMA. So he had to have some type of boxing skill and background and everything. So, and people don't want to bring this up when it comes to Eddie, but his favorite fighter, AJ, if he ever was to fight Deontay Wilder, it wouldn't be promoted by Eddie. It would be promoted by Queensberry, because it will most likely take place in Saudi Arabia. So the people look at it like this. How can we say Eddie's like one of the top promoters if in UK if he couldn't secure a deal with the Saudis, and Frank Warner did? Actually, that move kind of gave Frank the power in the UK when it comes to British boxing. I don't know if anybody else agrees with that, but if we look at it, this whole Saudi card was a promotion of Queensberry, and it was associated with Matchroom because you had Matchroom fighters on it, and you have some different other promotions on it, but this was mainly a Queensberry card.
Well, for whatever reason, Philly Drew, His Excellency Turkey El Sheikh has decided that he wants to work principally with Frank Warren through Frank Warren. He obviously likes Frank Warren, uh, and there you go. I mean, he made him the lead promoter of that event, and then obviously Frank is going to be the lead on the next event, February the 17th against Usyk.
And like when it comes to Beterbiev and Cam Smith, he's not going to beat Beterbiev, but he's going to be the first guy that takes him the whole 12 rounds.
Oh, so you think he goes the distance? See, I think he actually gets stopped, but I wouldn't be shocked if he goes the distance.
And
I look back to that Vosdik fight, and Vosdik I thought, and I still think, is a great boxer, and the way Beterbiev just broke him down, because it's hard to keep this guy off you the whole fight, right? Sugar Ray Leonard said this. Said there's always a point in time in the fight where you got to stand your ground and you got to fight. You got to fight a guy. You got to fight a guy off you. You can't move an entire fight, and he's not going to be able to move the whole fight against this guy who basically employs a steady stream of pressure. He's not overly aggressive, but he's, like I said, he just keeps creeping up on you, shortens up shots. He's very efficient at what he does, Beterbiev, right? He's not winding up from left field. He's throwing these like 6-inch punches in the pocket, and he's generating so much power while doing them. And he's basically, you give him this little bit of space, and he's able to thread the needle against you. Even if you're blocking shots, this guy is like George Foreman. He has lunch boxes for hands. He's just so freaking heavy-handed. You're going to feel everything this guy throws. So I like Bivol, but I think he's up against a guy like Beterbiev, and I see a similar fight that unfolding that we saw in that Vosdik fight. And I picked Vosdik before that fight, and I was just shocked how that fight turned so quickly in the later rounds. I was shocked.
Here's the thing. Arthur Beterbiev is 38 years old. He's been inactive.
So Smith.
Yeah, but I think the younger guy may take advantage of the inactivity. And if it's not him, it's Bevo. I think if you look at it, Beterbiev has been at a couple of wars and everything. And his body, with the inactivity, is slow and breaking down. And if he gets the Bevo fight, which I think he does, I think Bevo beats him. If you look at it.
What are the wars? The Marcus Brown fight and the what other fight?
The yard fight was
Nah, it wasn't a war. It was a boxing match, guys. He got hit a couple times. Let's not overemphasize. Let's not overemphasize what Yard did in there. Let's not do it.
You keep dismissing what Anthony Yard did in that fight, man. You got to give Anthony Yard credit in that fight.
I give him credit.
He won rounds in that fight.
No, he won a couple rounds. I don't think he hurt him. But
Drew, listen, I said he won rounds. Oh, he won a couple rounds so dismissively. He took that guy to task in that fight. That was a tough fight. Come on, Maestro. Stop.
I'm not saying it was an easy fight. What I'm saying is it wasn't a war. Like when I think wars, I'm thinking Castillo, Corrales, Gaddy, Ward, back and forth. Both guys evenly hurting each other. He hurt Yard way more than Yard hurt him. He hurt Yard way more.
I'm going to be honest here. There was a point in time in that fight where I started saying to myself, Yard, and tell me if you thought this too, Philly Drew, because we're kind of on the same page with this one. There was a point in time in that fight where I said to myself, Yard may pull this one off.
I never got to that point.
I never thought he would pull it off, but I think it showed me that Beterbiev is starting to break down a little bit.
All right.
But I look at it I also look at it like this. People are picking Callum Smith basically off of he's 38 and he's been inactive. That's the main reason why they're picking Callum Smith. And people are going to say, oh, no, it's not. But that's the main reason why, if you're going to put your money on somebody, you put your money on Callum Smith in this fight. Because
I would also say he's a good boxer. He has punching power too, and he's resilient. He's shown resiliency throughout his career. Even against Canelo, he went the full 12. Hurt.
yeah, but I'll be honest. I thought Canelo just plain out that flat out dominated Callum Smith. After
He
like,
did.
yeah, and
He did, but he showed toughness in going the distance. That's all I'm saying.
like because I look at it after Canelo was going to his arm and everything, he was compromised, and all he could do is really not throw many punches and be like somewhat of a punching bag for the rest of it. He did survive and everything, but now you're going up against somebody that is bigger, that is stronger. So it's more potential that he could get stopped, but I don't think he gets stopped. I think he goes to 4-12 with Beterbiev, and people look at it and say, hey, we got to get this undisputed fight now because he's 38 and everything. They're going to think, oh, he's breaking down. But
Well, the one thing that I've noticed that does make that fight hopefully easier to happen, and I don't agree with this, but I understand why you do it. Bivol is no longer announcing himself as being a Russian from Russia. If you notice in the last fight, they introduced him as being from Kyrgyzstan through Indio, California. So I think that's the loophole they're going to try to use to get around it. He's essentially has to kind of denounce being a Russian. Not that there's anything wrong with being Russian. I mean, people should be proud of being Russian if they are Russian. Beterbiev gets around it because he lives in Canada right now. So I think that's kind of the loophole they're using to get around the WBC's, what I would say is terrible, hypocritical, I would say unethical and immoral stance against Russians and Russian fighters. I would also add xenophobic to that list as well. But he's getting around it through essentially no longer announcing that he's from Russia. So, like I said, I don't necessarily agree with that. I understand it, but I hope it leads to the fight happening.
I think it's terrible too, because it's some type of prejudice, and people don't think it's like prejudice a little bit, but I think it is.
Oh, it is.
I understand why because of the U.S. with the Ukraine conflict and everything, but you shouldn't be taking that on the athletes because not all.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about that conflict, is anybody talking about banning fighters from a country that starts with an I that's killed 25,000 people in a place that they're occupying? Did anybody deny U.S. fighters the right to fight when we were illegally in Afghanistan, Iraq, currently occupying Syria and stealing their oil? I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, it's just it's just so hypocritical.
But I look at it like this. I saw you guys talking about a couple other fights.
Yeah.
If you're going to put money on a fight, in my opinion, I will put money on Jermaine Ortiz to beat Teofimo.
He's live.
Because I'm picking Jermaine Ortiz to beat Teofimo. I think Jermaine Ortiz is somewhat like Devin Haney, but you could say he's stronger, a little bit bigger, and everything. And I think we're going to see Teo is going to have problems with that type of fighter. So I could see.
I agree. What do you think about the inactivity, though, with Jermaine Ortiz? He hasn't fought in a while, Philly.
That can hurt. Inactivity is always going to hurt somebody.
I mean, the last time we saw him was against Loma. I was at that fight. That seems like it was ages ago.
Yeah. No, actually, he fought someone else after Loma.
Who did he fight after Loma?
He was on a card. He was on
he had to stay busy. He had to stay busy fight after Loma. He did. Shout out to CN.
I missed that one.
Shout out to CN. He says Smith has a great catch counter hook with solid power behind it. Beterbiev is getting old, and we see him hurt down against another Brit. All right, fair enough.
Oh yeah, he fought in September against Antonio Moran. I missed that one. He won by unanimous decision, 12 rounds. So yes, I stand corrected. I didn't see that fight. I'd like to actually go back and watch it.
Good thing about Top Rank is they keep these guys active. You got to give them credit for that.
Yeah. How did I miss that fight?
Getting old,
Where?
man. You're getting old. You're slowing down.
I am getting old.
You're slowing
That's
down.
for sure.
It's okay.
That's the main thing that concerns me about Beterbiev. I mean, Father Time's undefeated.
Here's the thing.
He's closing in on 40, but
here's the thing with the age.
yeah,
I understand people bringing it up and thinking about it and talking about it because at that age, it's always a possibility that you can get old overnight. But the thing is this: until I see it, I'm not gonna accept it as reality just yet. You know what I'm saying? I have to see him show signs of slippage, and you could argue that maybe he did in the yard fight if Philly Drew brings up some good points. I thought that was a competitive fight. You don't want to accept the fact that Yard took him to task in that fight. That's fine. We disagree on that one, but I don't know if that's more of a testament to Yard or if that's a testament to how Beterbiev is slowing down. But I still think the way Beterbiev closed the show in that fight, I thought it was very impressive. And I still think that he stopped Yard in very impressive fashion. And Yard,
I thought the way he systematically broke him down throughout the entire fight was very impressive.
Yeah. So just because you have a little bit of success with Beterbiev early, we've seen fighters do that, doesn't mean that you're going to escape that onslaught later in the fight. So that's the way it is.
There you are. Other than the fight taking place in Saudi between Usyk and Fury, what other fights you guys looking forward to the most in 2024, Joe?
Well, obviously, this undisputed with Bivol versus Beterbiev. That's a great one.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think something big I think the Ryan versus Haney fight's a little bit interesting because Haney's not. I mean, he punches hard enough to get a guy's attention. That fight intrigues me because I want to see Ryan at 140 against the top level guy at 140 and Devin Haney. I think Haney's going to win that fight, but I want to see how Haney handles that challenge. If he stops him, if it goes the distance. And I agree with Tony. That would set up a fight between Haney and Teo. So that's another potential matchup that I would like to look forward to in 2024. So I agree with Tony in that one. So you got Haney against Teo at 140. I'd like to see Crawford fight Tim Tszyu at 154 as well.
I'd also like to see David. Sorry, go ahead. Crawford fight Boots. Jew.
Everyone just scoffs at that fight, but I'm like, I think that's a good legitimate fight. It's another big welterweight who's got power. I think that'd be a good fight. Like, I don't understand how everyone's just because either way, I think they'll fight at 154 anyway. I don't think Boots is long at welterweight either way. I don't see Boots staying there, but I think that's a good.
You know what's funny about that? I was at the Boots fight in Atlantic City over the summer, and I asked Boots, like, are you going to move up? Do you have any trouble making 147? He's like, absolutely not. I made this weight easy. I weighed in at 145 for this fight. I don't struggle to make 147 pounds at all. Up until that point, I thought that he would definitely need to move up, but he's adamant about the fact, as is his father, that they can comfortably make 147 pounds.
He was on a podcast with the 3 Knockdown Rule with Steve Kim and Mario Lopez, and they asked him what he walked around at, and he said, "I'm heavy." he kind of told on himself a little bit. Yeah, I forgot this one too. Obviously, Benavidez versus Canelo, which I think we're gonna get.
Benavidez versus David. See, I thought you were going to lead with that one, Joe. But I want to see David Morrell Jr. against David Benavidez. That's the fight I want to see. That's the fight. The next two men up for Canelo's crown. We got the interim champion with the WBC in David Benavidez and the WBA Reggie belt holder in David Morrell Jr. They need to fight each other. Once they fight, the winner has to fight Canelo.
But you know what?
Let's let Corey jump in real quick, and then we'll go back to you, Drew. Unmute yourself, Corey. Come on.
Corey out here looking like David Morrell Jr. with longer hair. I know he wants to see David Morrell Jr. fight David Benavidez. This is like a David Morrell Jr. lookalike over here. This is incredible. You brought on David Morrell Jr., Joe.
Unmute yourself, Corey. Come on.
Oh, here we go, man. What's
Jesus
going on,
Christ,
man?
get
I
with the
hope
program,
everybody's
buddy.
having a good holidays, man.
I feel bad for you, man.
Yeah.
I feel bad for you because you're gonna lose a big chunk of change on February 17th.
All right, man. So, man, I had to come on, man. Two of my favorite fighters that I've been following for about 5 years. I'm not trying to be biased, but I am trying to break it down where you guys can understand that both guys are once in a generational talent. Beterbiev and Usyk. I really believe. I believe that Beterbiev, when y'all were talking about, him fighting Callum Smith, I just feel like Callum hasn't been in the kitchen with anybody remotely close to Beterbiev's talent. Yeah, he was in there with Canelo, but Canelo was really, playing the outside. And, I really don't feel like Canelo was, actively trying to stop and really put that fire and that heat on Callum Smith. You know what I mean? There's a whole different type of aspect of a fight when the guy's your size and he's hunting you down like a fucking mule or something. I mean, he's really coming for you. You know what I mean? And I really believe Beterbiev has that seek and destroy type of mentality, which is a whole lot different than Usyk's mentality. Two different fighters, but they did fight in amateurs. I just feel like, Beterbiev at this point in his career, yes, he's getting old. Yes, he's 38. Yes, he's, knocking on the door of 40. But I think he's a good 38. He doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he's Muslim. He really believes in his culture and his and the things that got him here. And I think that, he's a young 38. I really think he's a young 38. And a lot of people say that, some people I've heard on here say that, he's been in wars and stuff like that. The Marcus Brownie fight, he got cut over the eye, and that was mainly from a headbutt, and I just feel like that all of that blood gushing out didn't define Beterbiev. He looked straight through that.
Epic moment, Corey Lee. The doctor gave him 1 round to get to one more round. And what did he do in that last round?
Well, I mean, when he told him he gave him 1 more round, he actually after that it actually went a couple more rounds. But you can tell that, Beterbiev put the gas pedal to the max. You know what I mean? And he could tell, he gave the referee like, all right, man, this guy's really actively trying to, throw a whole lot more punches. Just the whole output after he said that was just, night and day. And Beterbiev's that type of talent. You give him 1 more round, he's gonna give you everything he has. But I think Beterbiev, is gonna win, and I think he's gonna win in dramatic fashion. I think he's gonna stop Callum Smith. Callum Smith was a lot bigger than Canelo, and I think that's one of the reasons why Canelo couldn't stop him. The size difference was crazy. Callum Smith was definitely bigger than Canelo, I believe. But he's not gonna be bigger than Beterbiev. And when you're not bigger than Beterbiev, there's a problem. Because Beterbiev is, 100% all muscle. He's coming in there, one thing about Beterbiev, you guys, whether you bet on him or whether you just pick him being fun, his strength and conditioning is going to be at an all-time high. You know what I mean? And, shout out to, Mark Ramsey and them that train him and that do a really good job of, bringing that, I truly feel like that undisputed, once in a generational talent. He just hasn't had Bivol has been running, I feel like. And did you guys see, not to switch it up, but did you guys see when Bivol and Beterbiev actually, finally met in Saudi Arabia?
In Saudi, yeah.
And he was like, I'm waiting on you pretty much. He put the ball in Bivol's court and he was like, and then they just walked off, And
I mean, I'm
because
a big fan. I'm a big fan of Beterbiev, Corey, but that was a little bit disingenuous, to be honest, because he's Russian. He knows fully well the reason Bivol couldn't take that fight. The WBC has a standing rule right now banning Russian fighters from fighting for its championship, and there's no way Beterbiev doesn't know that.
But Beterbiev has it, because of his Canadian citizenship. So, he has an out, and then he's not. That's how he's able to hold the WBC belt, because he has the Canadian citizenship, and he got that before they went to war. So,
This
you
is
can't
true.
blame that on the war.
No,
So
no, I'm saying that he knows why Bivol can't fight right now for undisputed. That's what I was saying.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. And I just feel like right now, Beterbiev, man, he might not be in the prime of his career, man. But I mean, all of those amateur fights, all of these professional fights so far, I just think that Callum Smith is coming in at the wrong time, man. I really truly believe that, man. And you guys will see that, man. I believe it's gonna be a stoppage. I'll say probably around 8 and up, because Callum Smith can take punishment, but how much punishment, you know? And I just
Andre,
go ahead.
go ahead.
No,
No, I
you
was just
good.
gonna say Andre Kuleska, Dr. Andre Kuleska, PhD, out of the University of Montreal. That's his strength coach. And
Yeah.
the Polish dude, the footage that they released from his strength training, I mean, I don't think anybody else in the game trains like him.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. And you can't hide, like Andre Ward used to say, it all comes out in fight night. You know what I mean? You can't hide what you've done in training camp. It all comes out, and that's why I love boxing so much, is because, you say you're the best, you say you train the best, you say you're this, you say you're that. Well, when it comes to fight night, there's nothing covering that up. Everything is on full show and on full notice, and then we can depict them after that. But Beterbiev is just an all-around, awesome fighter, and I just think he's going to win by knockout. I'm going to pick 10th round knockout for that one. I can let you guys go, or I could do the Usyk breakdown. I know Bees want to.
I gotta get going. I want to wish all of you a happy 2024, and everybody in the chat. Always a pleasure talking boxing with everybody here, and all the best to everybody. You guys take care.
All right, go ahead and do your Usyk one. Do your Usyk breakdown.
All right, man. So yeah, man. With the Usyk fight, I really believe that Usyk, he's been trying to get this fight for so long. He's been trying to get this fight for so long. A lot of people has been, putting Usyk down, saying he barely squeaks by some of these guys, and he looked okay. Some people thought Joshua won one of those fights and stuff like that. And I just feel like his ring generalship, and I feel like for his size, he makes you respect him with his in and out movement and his lateral movement. It's second to it's nobody can duplicate that in the heavyweight division. Not Tyson Fury, not anybody. I believe he came up from cruiserweight, being the undisputed champion at cruiserweight. I believe he came up, and his weight has been pretty good. And that's another guy. I just feel like he takes his craft, that serious. Almost on the level of a Beterbiev. He takes it that seriously. He doesn't go out and binge drink and, get up to balloon up to 400, 500 pounds. I'm sorry, Beads. I can't keep betting on a guy that balloons up to 450 pounds, north of 400 pounds, and then keeps coming down every time. You keep going to that well every single time. That well is not going to be there every time, man. Stop saying that this guy is, the greatest heavyweight of all time, dude. Look what the fuck he does in his off season. You have to be a champion through and through 365. You're not even bringing that up. You know what I mean? This guy right now, man, he's laughable to the heavyweight division because yeah. Because, I mean, what the fuck? Look what Francis Ngannou did, man. Francis Ngannou was a UFC champion, not a boxing champion. That was his first professional fight, okay? And Tyson Fury stunk up the joint. Period. Dorchester, baby.
We
He stunk up the joint, man. So it's like
we gotta accept that. We gotta accept
you know, and it's like, you know, they always say you're as good as your last fight, right?
Yeah.
Tyson Fury's last fight, he looked terrible. Now, I know that Tyson Fury, just like Joseph Parker, shout out to Joseph Parker, I feel like activity can help these heavyweights. I feel like activity could have helped Tyson Fury, you know what I mean? But when you throw him into a guy that's 100% game like Francis Ngannou, and I don't know if I mean we all gotta, you know, put it out there that we think that Tyson Fury, you know, had to have been, you know, underestimating Francis Ngannou at some type of level. You know what I mean? Because you go into that fight, you know, unathletic, you know, you got the pudge again, like you did with the Klitschko when you pulled out, you know. And there were so many signs leading up into that fight that we were saying that I feel like Tyson Fury was unfocused and, you know, I just really think that Tyson Fury went in there for a payday. I'm going to just be honest with you. You know, he was unfocused. I feel like he was, you know, unprofessional for sure, 100%. And, you know, I just feel like just like when we see with Wilder, when these heavyweights start getting older, the punch output starts going away, you know, and I feel like with the Tyson Fury fight, you know, his punch output versus Francis Ngannou had been a little bit lower than what he's normally accustomed to, you know, and none of that's going to help him versus Usyk. I feel like Usyk's coming in here full steam. He's heard everything that Tyson Fury has said, and he's using all of that shit as fuel, okay? He was at the Francis Ngannou fight sitting front row. He was praying that Tyson Fury won that fucking fight, okay? Okay? You're looking at a guy which his whole career is really based on this one fight, I feel like, with Usyk. You know? It shouldn't have to be like that. It really shouldn't be like that. But that's the way it is. Because a lot of people don't know who Usyk is still after all of his accolades. You know? So I just feel like Usyk is gonna win. You know, I believe he can win on points, but like you guys broke down earlier, man, Frank Warren is the lead promoter, man. And that scares me. I'm not gonna lie. That scares me. Will Alexander Usyk from the Ukraine, okay, get a fair freaking shake, man? That's what it boils down to. Boxer versus boxer, Usyk wins every time, in my eyes. Usyk wins every time.
You think Fury, at his best, loses to Alexander Usyk at his best?
I'm not saying at his best. I'm at his best right now, yeah. Tyson Fury's best years are past him, period.
So is Usyk's. They both, everyone's getting, no one gets better at 38 years old, 37 years old. You can only hope to hold on to as much as what you have left. So all these guys are turning the corner. Usyk's already said that he's retiring after these two fights. So you have to look at it like this. You're right. You're right. We have to ask ourselves, how bad does Fury still want it? That's a question that has to be brought to the table. Was that just him taking Ngannou lightly? Or was that him just losing it a bit? Right? We have to look at the data, though. Fury has had less than stellar performances against
to say the least.
Against Wallen, and he had one of his career bests against Deontay Wilder the next fight. The same questions that you're posing right now were being brought up in that second Wilder fight. Oh, he's had that big gash. Is that gash going to be healed? Oh, is he going to be ready in time for Wilder? Is he going to be? Did that Wilder fight take a lot? Wallen fight take a lot out of him? And what did he do? He comes back. So until Fury shows a consistent downward spiral, I'm gonna have to just look at history and say when he's faced with the toughest challenges, that's when he rises to the occasion. He's at his best. He's gonna show up to this fight with Usyk at 265 pounds. He's gonna be in the best shape he's been in recent years, like he was in Dillian White, 265, even Derek Chisora, 267. I don't like him at 277. He's gonna be in shape. Usyk fights one way. He's an in and out ambush fighter. You can't move the whole fight. When he gets close to Fury, Fury is going to body him, and that's going to take a lot out of him. He looked uncomfortable against Chisora when he was bodied. He looked uncomfortable against Breedis when he was bodied. He doesn't like a physical fight. At points against Dubois, he looked uncomfortable when the fight was a physical fight. He took a legal body shot and took a 210 count. He was down for 210 seconds, looking up at the lights, going like this. Face was red. If Louis Pabam's not the referee, he's in trouble in that fight. Louis Pabam's not going to be there in this fight to save him. He's in trouble February 17th. He's in trouble February 17th. He may not make it. I think Fury stops him late.
And I see what you're saying. I see where you're going with it, man. But no,
he's in trouble.
Usyk.
I'm worried for him. I'm actually worried for the guy.
But you know what?
Go ahead, Drew.
If you look at it like this, I said the only guy that beats Usyk is Fury, and the only guy that beats Fury is Usyk. But I look at it like this. This could turn into a Ibragimov versus Klitschko fight, or a Vitaly Klitschko versus Tomas Adamek fight, and everything. If this has the potential to turn into one of those two fights, whereas the bigger heavyweight just destroys the smaller heavyweight, but one moving up from cruiserweight, Adamek, and Ibragimov, which was always an undersized heavyweight, but an excellent boxer and everything, this has that potential to it. But Usyk's better than both of them and light years ahead of both of them, because Usyk does have that possessed ring IQ that I think beats them both easily. But Fury, people are going to look at it like this: Fury's going to come out of shape, or Fury's just a fat heavyweight. But Fury has hand speed, has footwork, and has power that could potentially be lethal in this fight, that can keep Usyk on the outside, because the thing is, Usyk's main strategy is he has to get in the inside. You don't get in the inside, you're not winning this fight at all. It's going to be a one-sided fight. Usyk has to get inside, and he has to do body work, and then make Fury go to fake the body work after that and go to the headshot. He's not going to get a knockout. But to Corey's point about not getting a fair shake because it's Frank, I don't think anybody questioned that when he fought Joshua and Eddie was the promoter. And I'll tell you the truth, I don't even think both fights were even close on the scorecards. I had it 9-3 on both cards. I don't think anybody, if you give that fight, I saw someone give that fight a draw the second fight. And my question was to that person, how the hell could you score that fight a draw where clearly Usyk adjusted and took the fight over, and AJ never adjusted at all in that fight? Like, I just don't get that part. But the only way Usyk wins this fight, or has a chance to win this fight, because I'm a big Alexander Usyk fan. I watched him since he was on HBO Cruiserweight.
For real?
I loved Alexander Usyk. And I never thought I would pick against him, but I would pick against him against Tyson Fury.
You're picking against him?
But here's the thing. Usyk has to
be careful who you're picking against, man.
He's getting stopped, Corey.
He ain't getting stopped. He's going to lose a decision, but he ain't getting stopped. Usyk has to get the inside, and if he does not get the inside, this fight is one time.
I think he's got to move in and out. He's got to move in and out. But when he tries to get close to Fury, Fury's going to reach out and grab him, and he's going to just lean on him, and he's going to give him that Steve Cunningham forearm. Boom with the overhand right. It's just going to be like this. It's going to be trouble, man. It's going to be trouble. And then he's going to get hit in the body again, like he did against Daniel Dubois. And then he's going to look over to the referee and say he's hurt, and he's going to try and fake a low blow. It's not going to work this time.
I just think that Usyk right now in his career, you guys, I think that this is the marquee matchup that solidifies his career, and that puts him, in the Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson realm, in their prime. I just think that this Usyk versus Tyson Fury fight is for all the marbles, it's for all the belts. I know, Herkovich has a lot to say about that, but I mean, I think Big Baby will end him, when they finally fight. But I just think that right now it's Usyk's era. Tyson Fury had his era when he fought Klitschko. That was a good era. He did what he did. But Usyk, was always here. But I feel like it just took him longer to get to this fight, man, because Tyson Fury has been actively running. Remember, Tyson Fury was the same guy that says he was gonna fight Usyk next. Then in the interview, he said he wasn't.
Fury.
Remember, B, this is the same guy we talked about.
It's a useless discussion because I knew.
But remember, once you have those type of things going through your head, okay.
Let me help you out.
They stay in there. They stay in there. They don't go away.
Let me help you out.
Tyson Fury had doubts after the Francis Ngannou fight. Am I lying? We both talked about this, B.
He may have.
We both talked about this. Are we? Am I lying?
He may have. I can't say you're wrong.
So when you're at this top level and you're doubting yourself, okay, whether you're gonna fight this guy next or not, and now he knew he was gonna fight this guy next. Okay, that's a big statement, man.
Yeah, but here's
that's
the thing,
a big statement, and don't look past it, okay? Don't look past that, because at the end of the day, Tyson Fury has to go in there and fight Usyk, not us. Okay? You got to know what's going on in your guy's head. I don't think you know.
Do you really believe that Tyson Fury never wanted this fight? You believe that?
Well, we talked about this, Beebs, and after the Francis Ngannou fight, he wasn't saying that he was going to fight Usyk next, knowing that was both guys knew that was the signed fight next. When he was interviewed and he said, "Are you, what's your next fight?" He said, "I don't know. I got to go back to my camp, and we got to talk about the fuck you mean you got to talk about it. Frank Warren's already signed it."
No. You're misrepresenting what he said. They asked him if he was fighting on December 23rd, and Frank Warren told him, No, you're wrong. You're wrong.
No,
you're dead wrong.
We talked about this.
It's a useless discussion because
we talked about this.
Yeah, but I corrected you. He wasn't sure whether or not the fight was going to be on December 23rd. Fight was done.
No.
This fight was done in March. This fight was done.
I know it was done, but when they asked him, was he fighting Usyk next? He didn't. He said, "I gotta go back and talk to my camp." All you gotta do is replay the footage. That's all you gotta do. That's all. I wish I had my laptop in front of me. Go look at the Francis Ngannou Tyson Fury post-fight interview. That's it. Factor in the
They asked him if he was going to fight him on December 23rd. Then he said, "I don't know yet. So we'll have to see." Because the date was never set in stone. It was always pending upon if he had any injuries. If he had any injuries or whatever. The fight was always going to happen. The big question was whether it was going to happen on December 23rd or not. That was the big question. You have to go back and listen to the interview.
No, just go back and check it out.
This fight was never in doubt of happening. Corey.
No,
Never.
I'm not saying it was in doubt, but I'm
Never.
saying Tyson Fury had doubt. Not saying that the fight was in doubt, because, I mean, the promoters were going to go forward with it, but the fighters got to want to fight, okay?
He was
And when
always going to
Tyson
fight him.
Fury
He
was
was always going to
asked,
fight him. He was
when
always going to
Tyson
fight him.
Fury was asked, who are you fighting next?
That's
He
not
said,
what-
I have to go back
no.
to with my team and talk
That's
to
not-
him.
That's
The
not
fuck
what.
you mean you got to go back to your team and talk to him? The fight's been signed
wrong.
already,
It's
dude.
Wrong. It's wrong. They asked him if he was going to fight him on December 23rd still. That's when he said he didn't know.
I know what Tyson Fury meant, and I know what he was saying. You know what I'm saying? And
If he didn't want the fight, Corey,
man, listen, B,
he wouldn't have taken it.
You've been crying. You've been really there for your guy, man. I'm not gonna say you're not. You've been there for your guy.
I mean, is the fight happening? Is the fight happening?
You know what I mean?
Why? When people do this is the problem when people do this. You're looking for you're not really confident in your guy.
I'm 100% confident.
You can't be.
1,000.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why you're
2,000.
not confident. I'll explain to you why you're not confident. If you're trying to look for needles in the haystack by saying, oh, well, he never wanted the fight, when the fight is definitely happening and the fight was signed back in March, it's not a good argument. You have to base it on, if he never wanted this fight, he never would have signed for it. Now, when you look at Joshua Wilder, that fight was talked about for 5 years. This fight literally took a year to make. It's the shortest undisputed fight ever made in that time, in such a short time period. So again, the big question was always that December 23rd date. And that's what he was asked. Are you still going to fight him on December 23rd? So if you're pinning your hopes on Fury taking this fight but not really wanting it, then what you're doing is you're trying to create the worst possible version of Fury in order for the guy that you're picking to win. What I'm telling you is this: the best version of Usyk's going to show up, and the best version of Fury is going to show up. And I think both guys, no matter what anyone ever said, both always wanted this fight. If you have to convince yourself otherwise in order to give your guy an edge and to validate your pick, it's not really showing weakness in your guy, man.
Can I talk now?
You're showing weakness in your guy.
Can I talk? I let you go on about your little.
Do you really believe in your mind? Last question I'm going to ask you. Do you really believe in your mind that Tyson Fury does not want this fight? Yes or no?
In my heart of hearts, I really truly believe he doesn't want this fight, and I really stand on that.
So then why did he take it?
On that.
So then why did he take it?
Because he was forced to take it.
No, he wasn't.
He was forced to take this fight.
How is he forced to take it?
Frank Warren wants to
He pulled out of the Klitschko. He pulled out of the Klitschko.
Can I tell you how? Can I tell you what type of promoter?
Can I
just break down the lineage of what Frank Warren does and what type of promoter he is? Okay. Frank Warren, I seen this with my own 2 eyes in the Daniel Dubois fight. Okay. When he fought Joe Joyce, Frank Warren was the promoter for Daniel Dubois. Okay. And he was really adamant about, Daniel Dubois is going to win. Daniel Dubois is, the better fighter. He's been training and all that. When he lost, okay, he didn't waver from that, okay? But he wanted to put his guy in there again, tough again. You know what I mean? And he's been doing that. Whether Daniel Dubois has the mental fortitude to go through with the fight, Frank Warren's already setting the fight up. Already is what I'm trying to explain to you. Okay? And that's the same exact promoter that's promoting Tyson Fury versus Usyk. Whether Tyson Fury is ready mentally, Frank Warren's going forward. The Saudis already cut the check. Okay? This is shit that I'm already knowing. This is shit that I'm already been doing my research on. You see what I'm saying? Frank Warren already said that they already paid him some of that money. Okay, when the fight was signed. Okay, so if you're a Hall of Fame promoter like Frank Warren, are you trying to tell me that you're not gonna put your fighter in there no matter if he's ready or not? Frank Warren's about the money, man. Period. He's about the money, man. Okay, and I really truly believe that Tyson Fury mentally is not ready for this fight. And I'm gonna put my motherfucking money on this fight. Okay, so for any doubts and anybody doubting me, 500 or better, $500 fucking dollars or better that I'm putting on Usyk. That's my word. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just like you gotta understand, man. When guys say all of this shit about Usyk not doing this or Usyk not doing enough, Usyk has done enough. But he hasn't gotten the recognition of the stuff that he's already done. And on that note, Beebs, I got to help my cousin move today. I was eating breakfast. I was fine at home, eating my oatmeal.
So you're expecting, you're doing the same thing the Joshua critics did with this whole mentally weak thing. He's not.
I'm just calling a spade a spade. That's all I'm doing. That's all I'm doing.
Well, you're doing a lot.
You say I'm wrong for that. You say I'm wrong for this.
A lot of mental. Well, here's the thing, man. It's a lot of mental. It's a lot of mental.
I believe the fight's
a lot of mental gymnastics you're doing right now, and they did the same thing with Joshua.
But we talked about this, Beebs. Don't act like we've never talked about this for hours on the phone. You know what I mean? Like. You know exactly the type of fighter Tyson Fury is. He has to be active. He has to be active.
Here's the thing. Once
a fighter, in the Francis Ngannou fight, it wasn't it.
This happens.
It wasn't it, man. It wasn't.
This happens with any fighter.
It wasn't it.
Once a fighter starts making a lot of money, complacency does set in. You have like everyone.
Oh wow, B, are you really trying to say that Tyson Fury could possibly be complacent?
Anybody could be complacent. Usyk could be complacent right now.
Whoa.
Both of them could be. Anyone.
What signs have you seen from complacent? What complacent signs have you seen?
Again, you're gaslighting. You're gaslighting.
We've seen a lot from Tyson.
Whoa, you're gaslighting. You're gaslighting. You're gaslighting. What I am saying is, in human nature, even yourself, even me, when you start making a lot of money, psychologically, you think differently. I'm not saying that happened, but it's always in the back of any fighter's head. What did Marvin Hagler once say? It's a different story once you start sleeping in silk sheets. Usyk himself has said, after these 2 fights, I'm retiring.
So what?
So what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, when you're 35, 36 years old, everyone's looking and planning the exit strategy. But what I'm trying to tell you is this: they know the end is near, but both of them know the end is near, right?
Yeah.
So they're gonna both go out with a bang. They're gonna both go out with a bang. They're gonna put it all on the line.
But Usyk's bang's gonna hit that much harder, and it's Corey boxing, and we're back with another banger, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Promise me you're not gonna put all your money on Usyk, please.
Usyk had my money from the jump.
Promise me it's gonna be a conservative bet.
Usyk had my money from the jump.
How much you putting on Usyk?
Like I said, man, we starting at 5. We can work our way up after that.
I'm scared for you, man. I don't want you to lose 5. That could be.
I gotta see what the bets.
That could go to your daughter's college fund. That could go to your daughter's college fund. I don't want you to do that much.
You gotta understand, Beebs. Dealing with a guy like me and been following Usyk's career and been following Tyson Fury's career. So I'm not trying to be 100% biased. Because I have been studying Tyson Fury's career. I know Tyson Fury when he knows that there's a big fight in front of him, like this, Usyk fight's gonna be. I would just pray that he would be ready. I think it would be a disservice to the sport. I think it would be a disservice to the Tyson Fury name. And just this is legacy. If he came in here, anything less than 100% in Tyson Fury's favor. I really feel like we're gonna get the best Tyson Fury, and I hope we get the best Tyson Fury.
You just said we're not gonna get the best Tyson Fury.
I'm saying I hope we do.
You just said we're not.
I'm saying I hope we do. It'll be a disservice for us not to, but I don't think that we're going to, but I hope we will. I don't think that Tyson Fury can just bring it all together in this one fight. There's been years
done it before.
Of ballooning.
He's done it before. He was off for
you
3.
You can't keep, like I said in the beginning, you can't keep going to that well and thinking that well's gonna be there at 40.
Until the well is dry, then we have to give it the benefit of the doubt that there's water in that well until there's no more water left. I can't say that all of a sudden my well is going to be dry when I go there and there's still water at the bottom of it. Unless the well is dry, I'm going to go to that well every time and thinking there's water there until it's empty. Right?
It's going to be, I'm telling you, Beebs, we got to do another live stream. I'm willing to do hours and hours and hours and hours of live with this one fight, man. Okay. I'll go back and forth with you for hours.
When the fight gets closer, we'll do another preview.
Yeah, I really want to be from beginning to end on the preview. I'm sorry, you guys, I came in late. Had a late night at work last night, but I woke up and I seen that you were live and y'all were talking about Beterbiev and Usyk and Corey Lee's not on the live. Come on, man.
I love Beterbiev too. I'm with you on Beterbiev. I'm tired of him. Just like Beterbiev, right? Everyone's talking about the age. Okay, he is 38, but until he looks 38 in the ring, I'm going to take him at his word that he's at his best.
Yeah.
I interviewed John Scully. John Scully said this guy is not a normal guy.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's a machine.
Oh, you heard what John Scully said.
I interviewed him.
Yeah.
Go on the channel.
Yeah, I remember you doing. I remember you interviewing him. I don't remember 100% what he was saying, but he was saying that.
Yeah, he said this guy's a machine. So I'm not just going to assume that because he's 38.
He's a former fighter, though, right?
Yeah, he's a very solid guy. Yeah, he fought Michael Nunn. Remember Michael Nunn?
And he said this guy's a machine.
Machine. There's nobody like him, he said.
So who do you think's gonna win? So what round do you think it's gonna end in, or do you think it's gonna go to the decision? Do you think it's gonna be Beterbiev's first decision?
No, he's gonna knock him out in about 8 or 9 rounds.
Okay.
I'm saying 9th round stoppage.
I'm saying 10th.
All right.
I'm saying 10th.
You know what? This fight has a lot of potential for us. If we both bet like knockout 9-10.
Yeah.
That's going to be the bet, Corey. Knockout 9-10.
Well, you can do a prop bet from I think it's 9 to 12.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the bet right there.
Or 7 to 9, Corey. That's the better one.
I don't know because Beterbiev has stoppages in round number, I believe 10 and 12. I know he had colon in 12, remember?
Yeah.
So I mean he can get you out of there very late. So I'm just saying, and I think that Callum Smith is gonna be game. Eddie Hearn has been talking him up, and he's just warming him up. He's just warming Callum Smith up for the inevitable, and he's going to get stopped in, I believe, the 10th round. It's going to be a lot of punishment. Those body shots from Beterbiev, I think he's going to start early with the body, wear him down. And I think he's going to eventually just get him out of there, man. You got to understand that a guy, I can't remember the guy's name, but he said he's been hit by a car before, okay? And that he was in camp with Beterbiev for a week. He said, when I sparred Beterbiev, it was way worse than the car accident. And I was like, yo, he was like, there's nobody like him. I mean, you got to go check out some of the interviews and some of the sparring sessions that these guys have. And they say it all, and I think sparring, people say sparring is sparring. We understand that. I understand that. But you got to have good sparring, man. You got to, man. You got to, For a fighter to say he doesn't have good sparring, I'm not 100%, sold on him. I think that sparring should be, maybe not 100% the actual fight, but it should be close. It should be close, you know, especially when you got a big fight coming up like this. You know, I knew Joseph Parker was going to do well. That's why another reason why, not to switch subjects, but that's another reason why I switched my picks after the third round, you guys. Beebs can tell you. I switched my pick from Deontay Wilder by knockout, cashed out on the knockout, okay? Put it for Joseph Parker, okay? Unanimous decision. Now, I was worried in the 10th round when Wilder got hurt. It was either the 9th or 10th round he got hurt, and I believe he was hurt all the way after that. I feel like Joseph Parker could have really stopped Wilder, to be honest with you. But I had to change my pick, and that's another thing since we're talking about betting on the channel, you guys. When you guys put in a bet, don't think that that's locked and sold out. You know what I mean? You can't come out of that bet. You can still come out of that bet. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of Wilder fans was like, oh, man, you know, I thought he could get it, you know, a knockout late. I seen the first 3 rounds, the way the fight was going and the shape that Joseph Parker was in, because I knew he was in good shape because he had 3 fights leading up into that fight. So I knew he was in tip-top shape and the best shape that he's been in a while, okay? That's why he said post-fight that he wanted to stay active and he wanted to do 3 fights a year. That works for him. And so what I'm trying to tell you is you got to take all of that into consideration, and knowing that Wilder's only had 2 fights in 2 years, you got to know about all this, you guys, when you put
You had a great year this year with your bets. You showed me all your bets every week. And,
yeah.
You did well for yourself. I mean, I trained you well, man.
Yeah.
I showed you how to do it, man.
Shout out to Bam Bam, man, you know, getting that stoppage as well, man. You know, that was an awesome bet I put out there too, man. You know, it's just like, you know, right now, man, we're in a day and age where if you really study these fighters and you really look at these fighters, the writing's on the wall. The writing's on the wall. Callum Smith has never been in there with a guy like Archer Beterbiev. I'm sorry. Canelo is not like Archer Beterbiev. The size is not like Archer Beterbiev.
It's a different fight, bro.
It's a different ball game. So you can't say, oh, he went 12 rounds with Canelo, he'll go 12 rounds with Archer Beterbiev.
Oh.
No. So you got to think about that, you guys, when you're putting your money up, man. You really got to think about that. You might want to listen to, you know, Beebs or, you know, some of the other guys that really know about this betting. You know what I mean? So, you know, you see how I didn't say myself, man. I'm giving it up to you, man.
I trained you, man.
Yeah, man. I'm a head out, man.
All right, man. Have a happy New Year. We're going to do a show tomorrow at about 11 a.m. I don't know if you're going to be around, but you could always catch it on the archive.
Oh, you doing a live show tomorrow?
Yeah, we're going to do the show tomorrow at 11 because people celebrate New Year's Eve, so we're not going to do it later in the day like we normally do.
Uh-huh.
We're going to do it at 11.
11 a.m.?
Yeah.
All right, man. I'm going to call in the show tomorrow.
Yeah. All right, man.
All right, y'all. Peace out, man. Happy holidays, man.
Yeah, I missed the betting show too. I got to bring that back. I've been getting lazy with my videos lately, and I got to get back on the ball. So, yeah, until next time, guys, I'm going to sign out. Make sure you check out the Ringside Reporter podcast tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Make sure you check out the Roundtable on D-Styles channel this week, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And we will catch you later, man. Thank you so much for everyone. Have a happy, safe New Year, and we'll see you tomorrow.